Lima, everyone. Yes, am I saying that? Okay. All right. Or I'm making adjustments right as I start the call. So sorry about that. We have a fun and exciting show for you today. Welcome, everyone. I definitely forgot that part of it. I am recovering from what I suspect might be the COVID. For reasons I won't bore you with. It's definitely one of those weird, bizarre illnesses that doesn't make sense. So if I start laughing here, because we're going to do a react video to Chris Brennan's yes, your sign. No, your sign has not changed. And I may start laughing hysterically, in which case I might cough and whatnot. And if I disappear over here, that's what's happening. So just be prepared for it. Nikki says she has an echo. I don't hear it. If you guys hear it, let us know. Hopefully she's going to be able to get through it and remain sane. It's just one of those weird glitches in the matrix that I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do anything about. Now, I haven't watched this. I've only watched one ever. The astrology podcast. I've only watched one episode ever. I had to max it out on the speed. It took me like 3 days because I kept getting frustrated. It was the one he had. It wasn't that long ago. It was a few months back with I forget his name, the Assyriologist, and he was talking about Babylonian astrology, and he was neglecting to mention quite a lot of Sumerian contributions. So that was very frustrating for me. So I don't know how this is going to go. I know Dr. Danny, God bless her soul. She's still alive. I just mean God bless her. She made a very kind and informed, very sweet reaction video to this after somebody on his channel deleted her comment. I suspect they probably go through and scrub any.
They do. I've actually gone through and looked at some of them. They're all praised, like not any that challenges status quo.
And I would imagine even skeptics come across those episodes and write nasty stuff, and I don't ever see any of that on there too. So they're definitely scrubbing things down, which is fine, whatever. I like the hate mail, the hate comments. Keep it coming. I'm on board for it. I think Nikki's the same way, if I could speak for you. So Nikki, have you tried to watch some of this? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I wanted to be prepared. It was like this, but then I was getting really mad. I thought, oh, this right now.
Okay.
It's the current alignments.
We'll see how this goes then. Yeah. We haven't done a react video in a while, so I may have jacked up the settings. We're going to see how this goes. And I guess we'll just start it from the beginning. Do we want to play? It's only an hour. It's like one of his shortest videos ever. But
we can skip some stuff. I mean, he printed off. Well, I'm sorry. Hold on, it's the echo.
They are saying you're echoing. Okay. Thank you, Lorna. All right, let's try this. Let me close or pop off this browser. Let's see here. How do I do that, you guys? 1 second for me while I multitask. Let's remove stop the screen. Okay, Nikki, can you talk for a second? Let us know if we're still getting an echo.
Am I echoing you? Oh, I'm not echoing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, it sounds really better all of a sudden?
Yeah, I can't talk. It just echoes back, and
let me try. Let me try to open it from another browser and see if that's going to work. Sometimes that'll do it. Let me try this one. So hold on 1 second for me, you guys.
Yeah, well, I'll talk a little bit because I thought it was really, really funny. We were doing like how the timing worked out for all of this, his video, everyone's reaction videos. And it brought me back to, I just kept thinking about Jupiter and how Jupiter's in opposition with Pluto right now. And a lot of things around ideas around dogma, is coming up. These personal dogmas, these political ones, these, principles laid down. I looked it up. What does it mean? Oh, I'm echoing.
You're echoing. Oh no, this is gonna suck. Nikki, can you share the video from your side? Do you know how to do that?
Let me see if I can.
Okay. All right, stop that screen. Let's see. Just make sure no crazy search history shows up on YouTube. Whatever kind of I'm not saying that you're Googling or searching inappropriate videos. I'm just,
that you guys know of.
If we have to, we can take little breaks, and then I'll kick the video back up, or I'll kick the screen share off, and we'll have little talk chat sessions here. Yeah, she started echoing again because I did the screen share. So at least one of us isn't echoing. That's good.
All right, let's see. Okay. Where's hopefully my share screen button? That one.
It's on the bottom. It looks like a little
TV with a plus sign.
Yep, that's it. Right. Are you on a laptop or a?
I am.
Okay. I don't know how you guys do it on a laptop. I don't know. Let us know if you guys out there have watched this video yet that we're about to watch and what you thought about it. Let us know in the comments if you've got to watch Dr. Danny's reaction to it. I thought she did a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, she did such a good job that I didn't think that this didn't warrant anything, that we weren't going to have to say anything either. But then Nikki sent me some messages and she was furious. And I'm like, there's no way he said that. So we're going to have to definitely look. Okay, go ahead, Nikki. Try to play it, see what happens.
Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to address some recent headlines in the news that are claiming that...
Push pause.
Yeah.
Can anybody out there hear us? Do we sound like we're echoing now? Lorna's Adventures After 50 said, accidentally sent the link to my mom. Guess she's going to get some wisdom. Is Nikki echoing? How do we sound now, you guys?
Yeah, I'm not echoing. I don't hear an echo.
I don't hear an echo either, which means you're probably going to be in control of the video today.
All
so
right.
Hopefully that's going to be doable.
Well, you just tell me stop and go.
You'll see. I'll make the signal.
All right. Do we want to skip ahead? I mean, he's got
no,
we're gonna
let's just go for it. You can probably skip his. No, don't skip the intro. Let him run. We're about to, tear it up. So
yeah, you're right. Yeah. So this is totally some Jupiter stuff, you guys. The Jupiter Pluto opposition. Like it's literally the stars. Like we're living it out. He's living it out, no matter how much he wants to deny it. It's so cool. So, all right, I guess I'll press play. Should we get started? Get this party started?
He seems a little loud to me, so you can turn his volume down a little bit, I think, once he starts talking. I think that's, if you guys in the comments disagree, let us know.
All right.
Your zodiac sign is wrong, or your zodiac sign has changed for some reason. And I'm going to explain why these headlines are actually misleading and not necessarily true.
Shoot, you got to pause. You already got to pause, Nikki.
Jump right.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know what he's about to tell us, but the fact that he's prefacing this with it's misleading, I mean, it's absolutely factually untrue to say that a planet is where it is not at. You would never point to somebody's foot and say, oh, your heart is in your foot. Like you would never do any of these things. So, not off to a great start.
Not really. No. We can already tell where he's going with this.
Yes.
All right.
Right into it. So a month ago, the New York Times published an article that was titled, Your Zodiac Sign is 2,000 Years Out of Date. And the basic premise of the article is just that precession exists. And due to precession, the sidereal and tropical zodiacs have diverged. And therefore, Western astrologers are wrong for using the tropical zodiac because it aligns with the seasons rather than the fixed stars and constellations. So
I do have to say that's how astrology started, you guys, based on the fixed stars and constellations. That's why we practice it. But all right.
While this is presented as like a new
that's always what it's about. Now, he's going to start talking, I imagine, about this whole concept of it being aligned to the seasons. This to this day does not make any sense to me, because the seasons are different in the southern hemisphere than they are in the northern hemisphere, which means the system, if this tropical system only works in relation to the northern hemisphere, which is kind of not accurate, I would think. I would think all of your seasonally oriented associations would be completely wrong. But okay,
they are, and I have seen in the past commenters say, hey, what about, I live in the southern hemisphere, what about me? Yeah.
Yep. I guess you don't matter.
No, you don't matter.
Nope.
Only, yeah.
It's the whole
Only-
Europe centric.
Only top side of
Yep. Yep.
of the earth
Okay.
matters. Okay. Here we go.
Reporting and some other news outlets sort of picked it up and ran with it. This is actually a really common narrative that it repeated, just a few standard talking points that get repeated, especially in the media, like every few years. This story kind of goes viral where somebody will write an article about it, and then somebody in the press will pick it up, and then it'll go viral, and everybody will be talking for a few weeks about how your zodiac signs have changed or how your zodiac sign is wrong and other things like that. So in my career as an astrologer, I have seen this happen multiple times. So there was a big time this happened in 2011 where the media was talking about it for weeks, and it was in like Time magazine and like all these other major media outlets. It also happened again in 2016. It happened again in 2020.
Can we push pause?
Do you think that he could have taken the hint by then if it keeps happening? Because
Well,
like here we are, this is something that normal astrology students like ask. They're like, hey, what's going on when you tell me the moon is in Cancer, but I look up and it's obviously in Gemini? Like, how can he can't answer that? He's just like, we do this on purpose. Like,
he'll say first
that.
of all, like sidereal astrology isn't a thing. Second of all, he's almost taking offense to people acknowledging that astrology, tropical astrology, is not astronomical. Why? Yeah, it's not so much that every so often the talking points come out. The CIA drops tells its mockingbird people to go out and try to debunk astrology. No, some people just looked up at the sky, like somebody from the New York Times was like, hey, wait a second, that's not where this is, and they started asking questions. I think that's reasonable.
Absolutely. I think it is reasonable. We have so many apps, and the technology has gotten delivered into our hands. We can see it for ourselves, and then to just blatantly deny what we're seeing and just being like, yeah, well, that's just not real. Okay, let's keep going. Let's see what this guy has to
And
say.
there's different variations of it at different points. Like, for example, I think the 2016 one, the claim, which was originally put on some like anonymous blog, was that NASA has changed the zodiac signs. So that was the little like unique spin on it at the time, was that it was being claimed that NASA made this change when NASA did nothing of the sort. Or other times there's just other little variations, but it always comes down to a few main talking points that are always repeated. And these talking points are one, about precession, two, about the tropical and sidereal zodiacs and the fact that they're no longer aligned, three, about the constellations being unequal in size, four, about the constellation Ophiuchus, but then five, the final point that always comes back to is they emphasize that there's nothing to astrology and that it's not scientific and there's no reason to believe in it in the first place. And therein lies the fundamental.
They are right to question astrology. If you're not going to look at the sky, if you're going to lie to somebody and look them in the eye and be like, hey, the moon's here and it's not there, they have an absolute right to be skeptical of astrology as a whole. Because why would they take any of that seriously? Not only that, once again, those are not talking points. Those are legitimate concerns. That's not, and he's misrepresenting that article. I've read that article. That article is widely cited in many astrology documents and papers. And that's not, I get what he's saying. Like, okay, other people are saying that if they just read the headline, maybe that's what they're speculating, but it doesn't say that at all. It just says like, hey, this constellation, 13th constellation technically is, wedged into here. But everything he just brought up is a legitimate question that a real person with any level of intelligence would start asking. So
yeah, and they are all questions that have been answered by incredible sidereal astrologers since, oh my God, forever. You've had people come out, like people like Kenneth Bowser have already had things out for, at least over a decade about precession and, why we study the actual constellation and stars. So, I mean, I'm just blown away right now. I thought I would get even more mad, but I'm just kind of can't help but laugh at this. This is just funny because it's like, hey, guess what? Science doesn't matter.
That's exactly what
I say matters because I'm the authority of tropical.
Problem
Let's go.
with most of these articles, and indeed with the one that was published last month, is that they usually are presented as if they're trying to like clue the audience in on something important, that their zodiac sign has changed, and therefore they're kind of targeting people that already believe that astrology is a legitimate phenomenon and who resonate with their zodiac sign or zodiac signs in some way. And
you're right. It's almost like he's offended that people are being educated that there is a different way. There is another way, the original OG way of doing astrology. Like,
and he's hinting at it being some sort of conspiracy, like they're just trying to talk you out of believing in astrology. You can't believe these people, you know, they think you're stupid.
Yeah, this is the vibe. Totally.
Absolutely.
Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Then they're trying to convince those people, though, that what they believed is actually mistaken. And the entire point of this, unfortunately, though, is not actually to genuinely educate or clue people in on something necessarily, but the purpose primarily is rhetorical in that it's meant to kind of misdirect people and to undermine people's belief that astrology might be a legitimate phenomenon by introducing doubt about it and introducing confusion fundamentally.
It's not doubt about astrology. It's doubt about tropical astrology. Nobody here's the thing. Like a lot of these people who are supposedly writing these articles who are clearly outside of astrology circles, they may not know that Vedic astrology, they might not have any idea that Vedic astrology uses astronomy. They may have no idea that there is another there are Western sidereal astrologers or Mesopotamian astrologers. Like they have no concept. So they're not necessarily, and again, I've read these articles. Now, some of them are really like, oh, like astrology's stupid and here's why. But Chris is just giving them reasons to continue like throwing these articles out there and putting out there because it looks ridiculous. Like from an outsider, okay? Now, this is not an attack on him. This is not an attack on any astrologer in particular, but more just I'm speaking to the science, the pseudoscience, okay? It's ridiculous and absurd that you would assert that something is so it's not even a little bit real, okay? If you tell me the moon is made of cheese, this can be a belief. You can feel really good about it. It can make you feel warm and fuzzy. You know, that can be your system of, you know, what type of cheese are we looking at today? Is this Swiss? Is this provolone? Like, we don't know. It's just as silly. It's not based on anything. And these people are calling you out, Chris, tropical astrologers, whoever. And it sounds like you're taking offense.
That's really kind of what I'm getting out of this. He's not willing to even recognize that sidereal astrology is an actual practice in this conversation. It's like he's taking these questions on tropical. He's offended. He's offended. Now, in his article that he wrote, that he posted on his podcast, the part that says the use of the sidereal zodiac by Indian astrologers. He says, now to be fair, there are astrologers who use the sidereal zodiac, which is roughly aligned with the constellations, and they do adjust their calculations for precession. There's a strong connection between early Western astrology and Indian astrology, but the Indian astrologers decided to use the sidereal zodiac of the constellations rather than the tropical zodiac of the seasons. The reason for this is probably that they had an earlier indigenous form of astrology that was based around a 27-sign lunar zodiac called the nakshatras, and this was firmly anchored in the sidereal framework since each sign of the lunar zodiac was tied to a specific fixed star. This prior focus on the fixed stars via their lunar zodiac made the sidereal zodiac more appealing because it lined up better than the seasons. And as a result, the vast majority of astrologers in India today use a sidereal zodiac. That's it. That's all he says about sidereal.
Yeah, he does not want to acknowledge that there are Western sidereal astrologers out there.
Not
even a little bit. He's just going to gloss right over that. I suspect he's not going to talk about that in this video. Maybe he'll bring it up. I don't know. But as far as the Vedic astrology goes, he's definitely not educated on what was happening. It sounds like he's also not educated on the fact that originally Hellenistic astrology used sidereal astrology.
Yes, and he wrote a whole book on Hellenistic astrology. He's an author.
He has to know.
He does know. The thing is that he's built an entire empire on using tropical astrology, and when you call that into question, you're going to sweat. You're going to sweat, and you're going to come up with things, and you're going to grapple with your own beliefs and your own, path. And this is him sweating, I think.
Yeah,
because you can't explain away precession. I'm glad that he's finally acknowledging that tropical is just absolutely seasonal based. It's not based on reality. Let's just put it that way.
I don't think it is seasonally based. I still don't understand this assertion.
Well, because the seasons are going to change. You're absolutely right. Precession, is a 22,000 year cycle. So yes, eventually spring is going to be,
seasons are aligned to the
in Capricorn,
the sky.
Yeah.
They don't have a seasonal system. Their system is based on the element, modality, and planetary rulerships. It has nothing to do even with the seasons because, so in Mesopotamia, about 5,000 years ago, the sun rose, the spring equinox, the vernal point was in Taurus. So that was springtime, vernal point, spring equinox, right? It shifts along with the sky and the stars. And that was the whole deacon system in Egypt, was all based on we're watching we're seeing when these different stars rise. We're tracking this because that's how we know when it's going to be the planting season. There is no disconnect from astronomy and the seasons. This whole idea about tropical and seasonal just is beyond me. It's absolutely insane. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's not necessary. It's just not. It doesn't add up. It does not explain the divide in practice. Should we keep going?
Yeah, let's do it.
He's got more to say.
While there are legitimate issues underlying things that need to be discussed, and that everybody, as soon as they start studying astrology, learns some of these basic concepts and some of these basic distinctions within the astrological community about precession or sidereal versus tropical or what have you. The issue underlying this is that it has more to do, I believe, with a rhetorical strategy that's meant to try to get people to stop looking into astrology and taking it seriously fundamentally by introducing doubt about the subject and confusion.
That is absolutely true. We should doubt tropical's ability to be accurate. And that's what it is. It's not an attack on astrology whatsoever. Not at all.
Even so, we should be able to doubt sidereal astrology. We should be able to doubt anything and ask questions about it.
Tested. Thank you. There's a scientific method behind all of this.
Right.
All right, we'll keep going.
Confusion. And that's one of my primary issues with this, not just as an astrologer, but also as a historian of astrology, because the historical explanations and sort of timeline that's given is often mistaken and misleading and doesn't really tell you the full picture about how astrology developed and why astrologers started using the tropical zodiac in the first place, or
hold on.
Why they
whatever he's going to say, they don't have an answer. Nobody knows. Okay, you can go back, read Tetrabiblos, you can read everything over the next 300 years. Nobody has an answer as to why they stuck with tropical and they just never adjusted as the vernal equinox shifted. He doesn't have an answer. I don't know what he's referring to. If he has some secret knowledge, that'd be great if he would share that with us. I suspect it's never going to come out because to this day, not a single person understands exactly why that happened. It was kind of just like everyone was using it and then nobody really gave it any thought. And then it was just kind of the thing that you did, but there was no decision. He's making it sound like that. Oh, they all, they convened,
I bet you he's going to talk about Ptolemy. And
I hope that he does.
Yeah,
I hope he does.
Me too. That guy, I'm a bit of a historian myself, and And a lot of people are looking at the books, the history books, and how history has been written, and women have been written right out of it. You don't read about women having leadership positions. You don't read about, women being, wisdom teachers, guidance, none of that. You don't read about women being astrologers, nothing. So history is definitely
Distorted.
It's distorted. It hasn't been accurately represented. None of it has. So you're right to question. You're right to dig around, and you're right to see what's going on. I keep reading these last few paragraphs he has in his article, and I want to save it for the end, but I kind of want to just say it now.
Put it out there.
He said, as I've tried to show above, both of these assertions, he's talking about, constellations. There should now be 13 signs, and your sun sign changed. These assertions are false within the context of the tropical zodiac used in Western astrology. Within that context, nothing has changed in the past 2,000 years. There are still 12 signs of the zodiac, and everyone still has the same sun sign. Precession does not change the composition of the tropical zodiac, nor does the fact that a small part of the constellation of Fucus falls on the ecliptic. Assertions to the contrary basically amount to a propaganda campaign on the part of skeptics with the goal of undermining the standing of astrology in their society. Their general position is that astrology is false to begin with, and thus anything that serves to undermine the public acceptance of it is essentially fair game, regardless of how inaccurate or misleading the statements might be. The ends justify the means. And then he's like, I hope this article clarifies everything. And
it clarifies it perfectly that tropical astrology is static. It's never going to change. So like 10,000 years from now, it's going to be even far. And they're just going to keep using the same dead zodiac that has nothing to do with anything at all. And they're going to gaslight people who ask questions. They're going to say, oh, it's a conspiracy to try to debunk astrology. Debunk astrology, you guys. Okay. I try to debunk astrology every day. That's how I got to this point.
Yeah, same.
I was like, this can't be, some of this stuff isn't real. Some of the stuff is clearly real, like this is what any intelligent person should do. Like, do your research. So
I know he acts like we've never talked to another human being before in our lives and didn't question the actual content, the actual everything. If I'm going to date somebody and they're supposed to be a Leo, why aren't they exhibiting any Leo traits?
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's something, or that was like something I struggled with when I was younger. I'm like, I'm an Aries, so I should be attracted to these Leos. Or whatever the signs were, but these people never exhibited those traits. Not that you're just looking at sun signs, but it just always was off.
He doesn't even exhibit his traits.
Well, he's a Virgo. He swears to God he's a sexy Scorpio. I doubt he says he's sexy, but Scorpio, is penetrating and mysterious and amazing, and who would want to give up, that status? Scorpio. I guess.
We wouldn't want to dox him even if his info is out there. It'd be interesting to look at his chart. But
he's obvious. He expresses all those Virgo traits. That's why I'm like, oh my God, this guy has got it together. He's organized. He writes out, outlines for his shows.
Yeah, that's some serious Virgo.
I mean, he's got some serious Virgo action in his chart. I know it. So shall we?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
To use the tropical zodiac deliberately and consistently over the past 2,000 years.
Okay, that was the part that pissed me off the most when I heard that. Like, we've deliberately been doing this for years. And I'm like, so you've been deliberately misleading people like me for years. Okay, let's continue.
Yes, well, hold on. He makes that sound like it's okay. Just because you've been doing something for 2,000 years doesn't inherently make it accurate or good. Right up until the 1700s, nobody washed their hands because they didn't know about germs. So, and then what was it? That guy, was it Semmelweis, I think was his name, when he told people, hey, listen, doctors' hands are full of germs and you guys are killing people when you go from a sick person to a new baby, you guys got to wash your hands. They ridiculed him until he basically went insane. He died in a mental institution, and it turns out, you know, a little after he died, he was vindicated after the invention of the microscope and everything. So like just doing something for a long time is not necessarily like that, you know, that means that it's correct. It's definitely good.
That is, I'm not laughing at that story, but that's
right.
That's so like, you could perfect story for this. Oh my God. All right, let's continue.
How far were we? Like 3 minutes
today
in?
He's
still in the intro.
Yeah, he's still in the intro. We didn't even really get a whole lot.
Okay.
I'm telling you, he's gonna keep going, and you're just gonna keep getting.
That's all right. I'm sure he'll repeat himself.
That history and sort of set the record straight. All right, so why don't we start first with the zodiac and the issue of the 3 zodiacs, because this is important to understand. And one of the things I want to do is explain to other astrologers the full history behind things. I want to explain this to people that are interested in astrology, and also even to people that are skeptical about astrology, so that they can stop making really bad arguments based on misleading people rather than genuinely trying to inform. So
oh my God.
The zodiac was first developed especially by tracking the movement of the moon and the planets, which look like wandering stars in the sky, as they would move against the backdrop of the other stars in the sky that are fixed and don't move. So basically, if you go out over a successive number of nights over a long period of time and look at the fixed stars each night, you'll see some stars that always stay in the same place, but over time you'll see some little stars that actually move against the other stars. And what they realized eventually is that the stars that move were the planets. And that's actually what the Greek word planetes meant originally, was wandering star, or like moving star. So originally, the Babylonians, or the Mesopotamian astronomers and astrologers, identified different constellations and different groupings of fixed stars that formed different patterns.
He talks to a lot of Assyriologists. They're all very Babylonian centric. You kind of have to be in Assyriology, like mainstream Assyriology. Like, you're not going to get ahead if you look into things too hard. All of the original 17 to 19 constellations of the original Babylonian zodiac all have explicitly Sumerian names. Sumerian names that don't translate into Akkadian or Babylonian. They are clearly compilations of earlier texts. Like, we're talking earlier, maybe within like 50 years earlier, that basically became the Mulapin. Same thing with the Enuma Anu Enlil, which is the foundation of all the Babylonian Amena lore. It starts out, the beginning of the whole document is all Sumerian. It credits the Sumerian gods. Like, these are clearly Sumerian texts. They're Sumerian constellations. Now, I don't expect him to necessarily know this, so I'm going to give him a pass, because most people they don't look too far in. But this is why that conversation he had with that one Assyriologist really frustrated me, because that guy's got to know. I don't think you can claim to be an Assyriologist with having a decent grasp of the Sumerian language. I don't know. Like, I don't know what goes into that. But I just want to make that clear. Like, this stuff did not come from Babylon. As a matter of fact, most of the magic, divination, spells, incantations in Babylon are clearly traced back to the Sumerians. Okay, I'll shut up now.
All right.
Patterns in the night sky. And there was a number of different constellations that they identified of unequal size that the planets and the moon and the sun would move through over the course of different periods of time. So this is what is known as the constellational zodiac, which is a zodiac that is just the path that the sun and moon and the other planets move through over a period of time, because it turns out that the planets and the sun and moon, they don't actually deviate from this very specific path through the sky, but instead there's a specific path that they always move through.
It's called the
And that
ecliptic.
path is what we
Yeah.
call the
Does he
zodiac.
normally talk
or
to people
that's
like
part
they?
of the definition
Like
of
they're
the zodiac
second
and
grade?
the
they're dumb
ecliptic,
and he's
which
too
is that it's the
smart for
path
you.
that the
This is why his
planets
podcasts are
move
3 hours
through
long.
in the sky and don't deviate from.
No.
It's
So
called the ecliptic, buddy.
when you're just defining it like that, the constellational zodiac is just whatever parts of different constellations the planets move through as they move through the path known as the ecliptic. And there were at least 17 or more different constellations or like parts of constellations that the planets would move through over the course of their different planetary periods. Eventually, by the 5th century BCE, the Mesopotamians standardized the zodiac signs to consist of 12 signs of exactly 30 degrees each.
Time out.
So this all happened.
The way that he just said that,
I know. He's like, hey, guess what? We had a group of really smart people, and they decided that this was what was going to happen.
and that is not
With
what happened.
Zero
at all.
context. Zero.
Not what
context.
happened. Yes. So, I got blurry. Hold on. Let me unblur. I unblurred. Okay. They did not all get together and be like, hey guys, let's just make it 12 even signs and 12 even constellations. Basically, they were getting, the Babylonians in particular were getting really good at astronomy, geometry. It's now been shown that they even were doing trigonometry to track Jupiter. I mean, they had extremely advanced calculations. And it was just easier for them to divide. So the Sumerian, I know I'm like backtracking, but I have to, you guys, because nobody ever talks about this stuff. Okay. So the Sumerians had an idealized year of 360 days. Now they knew that how long the year was. They didn't care. They wanted 360. And then they had a 30-day month, even though they knew it was closer to like 29.5 or whatever it is. And then they lined them up. That's called a lunisolar calendar. And then every so often, because the lunisolar and solar calendars would kind of go off track, they'd add another one in there, kind of like we add a leap year in every, 4 years or something. We add another day in to kind of to fix it or whatever. So they knew what was going on. Now, the Babylonians took this, and as far as we know, the Babylonians get credit for applying this to the sky, but there's a very real possibility, because we know for a fact that the Sumerians were doing this, or that they had this way to calculate things. The Babylonians get credit for applying this to a 360-degree circle, which is all they were doing. They just wanted a way to be able to track and be like, okay, it's at this degree, it's at this degree. There was nothing astronomical related to it at all. So when what they did was they lumped these in, generally speaking, with a constellation. This did not mean whatsoever that they really thought that the constellation was just in this one little 30-degree portion of the sky. That was never the case. So this idea that the Babylonians had they only had these 30-degree signs, they absolutely did not. It was only done for tracking purposes. So they still were using like any type of their omens, their astrological, because they were predicting a lot of things. They were doing natal horoscopic astrology. Anything that they were doing, they knew exactly what constellation they were in. They did not stick to this 30 degrees. So this rigid dogma of the 30-degree system is a development of the Greeks. We're not gonna put this onto the Babylonians. It's not their fault. So I just want to put that out there. Okay.
And in this really important period of time around the 5th century, because around the 5th century, they started producing ephemerides, which were like tables or books of planetary positions. The concept of natal astrology was introduced around this time, around the 5th century BC.
No, time out. Hold on. I got it. I'm so sorry, Nikki. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. Because I know that's not real.
They have all the way going back to the Hittite period, which is like 1,500 BC. So this is 1,000 years earlier than he's talking about. They have evidence of the Hittites talking about like a boy born. Let me try again. A boy born. There we go. In the 8th month will sell silver. And they have these, now this is the Hittite culture. This is not, it's basically outside of the main, Babylon and Assyria and everything. And this is important because we know for a fact they did not participate at all in the development of astrology, which means they got this. This was already being shared from Mesopotamia throughout the region. So in those, their omens, they're like, so-and-so in the 8th month and the 7th month or whatever it was, they specifically relate to those constellations rising at this time of the year. That was like originally based on the Sumerian year. So once again, for them to have that, they would have already been doing natal astrology as far back as anybody, probably as far back as, like, who knows, human history. We don't know, because we don't have the textual records. And so they're just like, well, then it wasn't happening. Okay, well, guess what? We don't have textual records of anything going on. There's no document of anybody procreating, of anybody developing the wheel, of anybody speaking outside of numbers prior to like the Uruk period, which means that by this reasoning, nobody had babies. Nobody, could talk. They all spoke in equations, because that's the only records that we had. So this is faulty logic just based on that. So this whole idea that like, oh, well, they weren't doing, natal astrology or whatever is nonsense. Okay. Stop.
No. That's all right. You said what I wanted to say.
The alignment of the planets at the moment that you're born, or the day that you're born, has something significant to say about your life and your future. And then the zodiac was also standardized at this point to be 12 signs of 30 degrees each. So right away, by standardizing the zodiac, it's partially bringing it into alignment with the Mesopotamian calendar, and it starts to become an abstract division of 12 segments of the sky, fundamentally, rather than something that is fully aligned with the constellations.
He's speculating. He's just making that up.
Okay, yeah, that's just ridiculous. That is just absolutely, because there are more cultures out there that used the actual real sky long after
all of them.
Ptolemy. Yeah, all of them. Yeah.
This wouldn't make any sense to any indigenous population on Earth ever at any point in history.
Exactly. If you right, try to explain that to a tribe once.
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing it wrong, by the way.
Yeah.
Some guy in Greece a long time ago who couldn't count his wife's teeth, he made up this we'll get there. We'll get there eventually. Yeah. All right.
Constellational zodiac is that the constellations are unequal in size. So there's some constellations like Virgo that are very big, and there's other constellations like Cancer, for example, that are much smaller. Already once you go from the constellational zodiac to the sidereal zodiac, that's 12 signs of exactly 30 degrees each.
Okay, hold on.
Wait, and sidereal, who's doing that?
Yeah, who's giving him? Why does he get to define this? What a sidereal zodiac is? Does he know what sidereal time is? So sidereal is an astrological term that relates to the amount of time it takes for a planet to go from basically one point in the sky against the fixed stars to another. That's all it is. This whole idea that the sidereal zodiac is different from the constellational zodiac, and like who's coming up with this stuff? Like, where is this him? I don't know.
I have no idea. I totally thought sidereal and constellation were just about the same thing.
It's the same. That's what it means.
That's exactly, if you Google, look up any dictionary, what it means. You're exactly right. That's exactly what it means. I don't know. I'm being educated. Let's see. What else does he have to say?
Construct that has more symbolic significance rather than something that's purely being based on mapping things to the stars exactly one for one. And it's also moving it in the direction of being aligned partially with the seasons and the different seasons that happen, especially in the northern hemisphere, like spring, summer,
wait, what did he say?
Autumn, and winter. So this is really important because all of
Hold on.
On what? About what?
I just wanted to go back.
That has more symbolic significance rather than something that's purely being based on mapping.
Oh, it just
The
won't.
zodiac was
It's
first
being
developed
silly. I'm so sorry.
let
I
it
just
go. It's
aligned
fine.
with the constellations, because one of the issues with the constellational zodiac is that the constellations are unequal in size.
Okay,
So
that's
there's
not
some
an issue.
constellations like
No, it's
Virgo
not
that
at
are
all.
very big, and there's other constellations like Cancer, for example, that are much smaller. So it,
And those aren't
already
issues,
once
guys.
you
No, it's not an
create,
issue.
you go from the constellational zodiac to the sidereal zodiac, that's 12 signs of exactly 30 degrees each. You're starting to create a construct that has more symbolic significance rather than something that's purely being based on mapping things to the stars.
He just admitted it.
You heard
he just
it
admitted it.
here for yourselves, guys. That's why I had to go back, because it was basically like, we're not using the real sky. We're using symbology. We're using our intuition and our mind, and we're just dreaming stuff up.
That's it. It's
Does that
all
sound
symbolism. It's not real. Yes, he literally just admitted that.
Okay, you
Right.
heard it here first, guys. Chris Brennan told us that the tropical
Yep.
zodiac is based off of symbolism. It's not based off the
He
actual
knows.
constellations, because those apparently don't matter in astrology. They matter a lot in astrology, and
Just your
that's
made-up
why
symbols
we use
matter.
them.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Exactly one for one.
Exactly.
And it's also moving in the direction of being aligned partially with the seasons and the different seasons that happen, especially in the northern hemisphere, like spring,
He knows.
summer,
He knows it's
autumn, and
ridiculous.
winter.
He does know. He
So
really
this is
knows.
really
This is like
important
when
because
somebody
all of
committed
these
a
things
crime
come together around the 5th century.
and they over explain, you know. They're like, yeah, no, I was totally at my buddy's house last night. You know, we played Zelda. We ordered a pizza. It had anchovies and pineapple. I don't normally like pineapple, but I decided I'd go with it. Like, that's what he sounds like right now. He's just gonna way over explain his crazy justification, and he knows. I can feel it just coming out of the video. He knows exactly what he's doing.
This
But
is
fine.
almost this is kind of like a bit of a little power move, a little bit of a political move on his part. Like, I think he's really sweating. And maybe he doesn't feel like tropical astrology can actually stand up against the info you get with constellational. It's uncanny. It's
He
like,
has to be feeling the pressure, because why else would he bring this to people's attention? Because it doesn't help his cause to have this conversation.
And he won't have it with a true sky astrologer. Danny had even offered to give him a free reading. She was like,
I'll
hey,
give him a free reading.
I'll give you a reading and I'll change your mind. And he deleted her comment. And she came back with so much class and clarity. And I thought that was really awesome on her part. I probably, I was like, I didn't even comment. I've been steaming ever since I seen it. So
I think I said something. I'm not sure if the comment's still there.
I think your comment might have gotten deleted, actually.
Probably at some point.
BCE as basic concepts of standardizing the zodiac and introducing the concept of natal astrology, that there's something about the alignment of the planets that's significant at the moment of birth. So what happens after that, though, is over the course of the next few centuries, astrology continues to develop and get more advanced and get more complex until eventually, sometime around the 2nd century, there is this synthesis occurs in Egypt. And it's in Hellenistic Egypt, which is basically Egypt after it was taken over by the Greeks or the Macedonians, by Alexander the Great. And we have the creation of things like the Library of Alexandria around the 3rd century BCE. And in Alexandria, we have this synthesis of a bunch of different astrological traditions of, you get the astrology of Mesopotamia, you get the astrology of Egypt starting to merge or mix together with the Mesopotamian tradition. You also get...
I know this is going to upset some people. Please, don't take my word for it. Look it up. There is no Egyptian astrology outside of the Mesopotamian system. Okay. They had the Decan system, which is similar to like the Nakshatra system, in that they had nothing to do with astrology. They were not trying to predict the future. the deacon system was basically their like a calendrical system, and it was the Greeks that took this idea of the 30-day or the 30-degree or 10-day periods, excuse me, of the deacons, and they applied that to astrology. So no, there is no Egyptian astrology outside of Mesopotamia. As a matter of fact, you can see this in the Dendera zodiac, which is, it's all just the Babylonian constellations.
I'm glad you caught that. I was just looking.
Oh, I'll catch it all, Nikki.
I've been looking at, like, trying to compare what he's saying with the article that he wrote and posted on his website, because there's really no explanation.
You're a boss. I couldn't read it. There's no way.
Well, I'm reading it and I'm just like, here's the deal. It's just like, because I said this is why. Because other men like me have said this is why. There is no scientific basis. It's just we choose to do this on purpose because this astronomer, Claudius Ptolemy, adopted the tropical zodiac, and
it wasn't just him. I mean, we're
deliberately using this as our primary reference system for 2,000 years now, is what he says. So as a result, this is a decision we've purposely done. This has been an issue that's come up quite a bit. At that time, you guys, Ptolemy thought, and so did all of his friends, that everything revolved around the earth, the sun, Mars, all of it. So we didn't even have a scientific basis that, the sun was the center of our galaxy. So yeah, there's that. I mean,
you can tell he's definitely, this is a video to pacify the cult members, the devotees.
Yeah,
to make sure, hey guys, don't panic, everything's okay. Like,
yeah,
that's who it's for. It's not for anybody who legitimately has questions about this. It's basically, it's a gaslighting exercise.
Yeah, exactly. It just, and to call it propaganda, to call using the real sky and the constellations propaganda, like, to not even acknowledge that there are other practices beyond tropical. They do, he does. He acknowledges that there's Indian astrology and they use sidereal, and that's them. That's on them. They're just, earthy tribal people.
Yeah, apparently.
Like, what sense does that make in an actual argument? I mean, I don't care if somebody uses tropical at all. That's not like, I'm not attacking tropicalists. Like, if that's how we all started using tropical, I did. I mean, I didn't know there was a difference. But there comes a point in time in your practice where you're like, hey, this isn't lining up. This information that I'm getting, I'm not going to parrot what everybody else is saying out there. And that's, why tropical, I think, is so popular. I mean, everybody can just pat each other on the back. What we do isn't popular. It isn't, niche. What we're doing is niche. It's different, so we don't have a whole group of people patting us on the back going, yeah, that's real. That's what that is. And let's all say the same thing. Even in constellation,
shuts us down. They shut the conversation down, just like what he's doing here.
Don't ask questions. It's shutting it down. Don't ask questions. Even in the constellational community, which I adore, because we have so many different types of astrologers that use the real sky, practice differently, and still can have conversations like this around how astrology is practiced. It's super nice. I don't know. I love our community.
Yeah, the Sidereal folks are definitely more open-minded. I think we have to be because, we're already on the outside. We're on the fringe. Hopefully not for too much longer, but.
Yeah, it's like we're the black sheep for some reason. And it's like, for what? Telling the truth?
Questions, going up against the establishment, even if it's the astrology establishment.
So weird. I feel like I'm fighting my family. I'm like, hey guys, you don't see that this is wrong.
Right.
And the collective is just like, that's not real. I can't look.
Yep.
Get some concepts from Greek philosophy and geometry and mathematics starting to be blended in. And it creates this really interesting system in the Hellenistic period that emerges after the 2nd century BCE that we call Hellenistic astrology. And for all intents and purposes, Hellenistic astrology acts as the foundation of all of Western astrology over the past 2,000 years, that
True.
all of the different subsequent traditions of astrology, especially in the West, have been different variations of the basic system that was created around the 2nd century BCE in Hellenistic Egypt. And that system largely focuses on natal astrology and birth charts, and it has 4 distinct parts, which is the planets, the signs of the zodiac, the concept of aspects or configurations, and finally the concept of the 12 houses.
Yep, that's
So all of these
astrology.
Yeah,
concepts
thanks,
are put
Chris.
together and standardized into a specific construct or system. And this is actually what I wrote an entire book about. This titled Hellenistic Astrology, the Study of Fate and Fortune, because part of the thesis of my book is that Hellenistic astrology was created as a technical construct for interpreting fate and for being able to view and actually discuss and articulate a person's personal fate
How do people
through the
watch this
lens
guy
of
all the
So
time?
how can you do that when the whole thing is shifted by 27 degrees?
Well, he
How
said
can you
it's a
tell me?
construct.
It's a
It is a
construct.
construct.
It's
Symbols.
symbolism.
Now we
Okay.
know. Now we know.
It's a symbolic construct, and okay.
Yeah.
of their birth chart. So what's important about this is that most of the system of Western astrology develops around this time, around the 2nd century BCE.
When
And
the sun was
although
already
it's
moving into
taking
Pisces,
some
the Vernal
concepts
Ascent.
from the earlier Mesopotamian and Egyptian and other astrological traditions, fundamentally there are some new concepts that are being introduced at this time as well. So one of the concepts that seems to have been introduced around this time is the concept of the so-called domicile scheme of assigning each of the 7 traditional planets to 1 or 2 of the signs of the zodiac.
No,
So, for example,
I won't go on a tirade here because it's outside of my personal area of expertise. But these, if he's talking exaltation, planetary rulers, and every derivative thereof, which is what he's talking about of domicile, that was already in place in Babylon. So I just wanted to throw that out there too, because he's giving the Greeks credit for it, and I can't do it.
I was gonna say this is the Greek rulership.
Yep.
This isn't.
the sun and the moon were assigned to Cancer and Leo because those are the 2 signs that follow after the summer solstice, which is the hottest and the brightest part of the
Okay.
year in the northern hemisphere.
Don't
So
skip
you assign
ahead.
the 2
You can speed it up if you
luminaries
want.
or the 2 planets that
Okay.
provide light.
He's talking
and
slow.
in the case
He's
of the
going real
sun,
slow.
heat. So there's a symbolic resonance there and a motivation for assigning the 2 luminaries to those 2 signs of the zodiac.
Where's my speed?
After that, you assign Mercury
this
to the
it?
2 signs that are flanking the sun and the moon, which are Virgo and
Yeah, he's basically admitting what
Gemini,
I
Virgo
harp
and
on
Gemini.
every single time it
Then
comes
after
up,
that, you move on to the next
which
planet,
is that they randomly
that is
assigned
the
planetary
furthest
rulers.
from that, moving outwards after Mercury, which is Venus, which gets assigned to Libra
sped it up
and
a
to
little bit.
Taurus.
Okay.
I know, learning learning the Sumerian astrology and where it all started, and like actually testing the actually testing rulerships and kind of testing things, you do find that there is a connection between Mercury and Aries and the head and thought, and you do find these connections with these inner planets more than these outer. Like, I don't know, it's at random. It's not like
It's fluid.
it's fluid. Yes. It's not set up like this at all. Like if you dig around and you play with it a little bit. I do like the traditional rulerships, but oh my
Well,
God.
okay, let's
But
take his-
yeah. Go
but
ahead.
just to piggyback on what he's saying, though, he is telling you the truth here. They decided what planets were going to be where, and if they would have been beneath the equator, they would have done it backwards. So like whatever, again, it's these Greek dudes did kind of in a way get together and be like, well, this is the way, this is how it looks for us. So we're going to just develop this whole European centric system. And too bad if you guys live in like Africa or Australia, they didn't know about it. South America, doesn't matter. You guys, we don't care about you.
Yeah. Doesn't matter. We decide.
Yep. Nope,
Where,
that's it.
well, isn't that what Rome was about, like ruling the world anyway? And weren't they?
I don't think that was their mission statement, but
kind of what happened.
Then the next furthest and slowest planet is Mars, so it gets assigned to Scorpio and Aries. Then Jupiter is the next furthest planet that gets assigned to Sagittarius and Pisces. And finally, Saturn is the last visible traditional planet in ancient times, and it gets assigned to Capricorn and Aquarius. So what's important about this scheme that's crucial for our understanding is that this scheme, one, becomes part of the motivation for why astrologers associate certain things with certain zodiac signs. So part of the reason, for example, Leo is said to signify some of the things that it signifies is because it's associated with the sun. Or part of the reason that the sign Cancer is associated with certain things is because it's associated with the moon.
Because of your
so
random
astrologers over the past
association.
2,000 years have used this schematic,
when we talked about his face, poor face.
this scheme or the
I still can't pause on a decent face.
It's all right.
But no, when we had Leo season, did you guys not feel like that awesome Venus energy as everything was moving through? I don't know. When Venus was moving through Leo, that was awesome. It almost as if she was the ruler of Leo.
Well, and that's the thing. Leo was originally Inanna, the lioness of heaven, which was Venus. So he's and I'm not saying that the sun doesn't have associations in there either. What I am
totally.
saying is that he's basically saying what I say every single time, which is that the Greeks just made up their own system, and it has nothing to do with actual astrology. This is just another incarnation of it having nothing to do with astrology. It has everything to do with this, this Greek philosophy, Yeah,
the Greek agenda.
Yes.
This construct as part of the theoretical motivation to generate some of the meanings of the zodiac signs.
Theory, construct,
so
symbols.
that's point one. Point two is that's important to understand is because the astrologers assigned the sun and the moon to Cancer and Leo, because those two zodiac signs in the tropical zodiac coincide with the hottest and brightest part of the year, that means part of the motivation was seasonal considerations, that they were being motivated to assign the planets to the signs of the zodiac based on the seasons that those signs were thought to coincide with in the northern hemisphere. So this is what leads us to the tropical zodiac, which is that so the constellational zodiac was based on the uneven constellations. The sidereal zodiac was based on standardizing those unequal constellations into 12 signs of 30 degrees each. And then the tropical zodiac is the next phase in that, which is that it takes the seasons, and specifically the two solstices and the two equinoxes, which is the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year in the northern hemisphere, and the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year. And then it takes the spring equinox and the fall
how long
equinox,
it took to actually hear
as the starting point
a tropical astrologer
the
admit
four cardinal
that it's
zodiac
seasonal
signs. So in particular, for example, the first degree of the sign Aries becomes the first day of spring, basically, which is the vernal equinox, becomes the first sign of Aries. And then the zodiac signs are measured out from that in 30-degree increments.
I was going to say that it's Pisces, guys.
It's for sure. Even during their Ptolemy's time, it was still basically Pisces. I can show it. I've shown it many, many times. Not only that, but that's another misnomer. Here in Russia, the first day of spring is March 1st. It has nothing to do with the solstices and the equinoxes. Again, this is a very narrow worldview that got all of global astrology, and it now has the market on astrology because of some dudes in friggin' the Greek Empire just decided it was so. We could probably just redub everything he's saying is it's tropical's better because I said so. That's really what
that's really it. Exactly. I'm not I'm not seeing an argument here. I'm just
there's no argument. He's admitting it.
burying the practice. Look, tropical astrology it's a dying tradition. Okay, you guys, I'm going to be honest with you. People don't want guesses. They want actual real facts. Okay. Nobody wants to live with alternative truth and any of that. Okay. That's not the age and time we're living in. Like we're flipping tables, guys.
People are looking at the sky. People are looking at the sky, and they don't know what to do now. They have to justify it. It takes an hour to he just needs to say, because we said so. It's symbolic. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
I'm starting to understand why that's what people say in the comments. No, it's just better.
Yeah, I love this.
Very closely with the seasons. They end up aligning perfectly with the seasons and with these different periods of like light and heat that are experienced in the northern hemisphere. So the tropical zodiac then becomes focused on these concepts of like light and heat and specifically the seasons rather than connecting it with the constellations.
But they
so
are
why that's
connected.
Important for our purpose.
They are connected. They change with the stars. They change with the seasons, change with precession. This is madness. He's smarter than this. I know that. He's got to know. He's got to know.
He does know. But, you know, when you've written books and you have built an entire empire on tropical astrology, you're going to die on that hill, man.
Yes,
you're gonna, because that's where his money comes from. You know, It's about survival at this point. I mean, because everybody's questioning anything and everything that has to do with authority right now, which they should be. You know, the authority. Who's the authority of astrology right now? Who's the mainstream?
I guess whoever has the most biggest YouTube channel, is probably him, right?
Exactly.
So he's definitely one of them. See, I don't have it in me. I don't have it in me to not share all of my. You guys know, you've heard me blurt out all of my goofy day-to-day. My intuitive insights or things that I've learned or whatever. Like, I want to share all the information. I wanted to get it to as many people as possible. I just can't imagine being in his position and looking up at the sky and be like, nope, it's not there. I'm just not going to tell anybody. Not only that, but like in his position, he could be like the guy who came out and was like, you guys, we've been doing it wrong. He would be in every history book, you know, but as it stands, he's going to end up being just like a big voice and, you know, just preaching the same old. So I don't know. I don't get it.
No, I don't get it either. I don't get it either. Because this divide has literally taken us away from, you know, our ancestral roots. You know, those priestesses and priests, they watched the skies every day. They would prophesize. Yeah. I mean, they were your spiritual leaders. I mean, you take that away and you don't have, what do you got? You've got a bunch of spiritualism. You got a bunch of projections. You got to, you know, like, I feel it's this, so it is. Like, I don't.
It's this. It is. Look, I'm not a big feminist, you guys, but I kind of have to agree with Niki here when it comes to like, this does seem like this patriarchal, like fossilized patriarchal system that just nobody's been allowed to question. You know, back in Sumerian and I don't know, not so much maybe in the Babylonian period, but in Sumerian times, like women were the astrologers and astronomers. Like, I mean, they had men too, but it was definitely like, you know, that was a more of a feminine art.
Yeah.
This is
in the last 2,000 years, we've been wiped right out of history. Like, even some of the most prominent men who had female teachers, you would never know. This information comes out later in these little like mythologies, little history like notes, and it's like we're hidden. You know, we're hidden from view. We're hidden from history, and I mean, I don't know, like. It's just kind of giving, you know, the men have spoken. So
it kind of does. It kind of does have that vibe.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remain bipartisan.
When Hellenistic astrology was being put together, and therefore, for all intents and purposes, when Western astrology was being put together around the 2nd century BCE, the astrologers, when they were looking at the zodiac signs, the seasons and the tropical zodiac signs were roughly aligned with the constellations and the sidereal zodiac signs.
Yeah, you guys were using sidereal astrology back then. This is important
because it turns out that the astrologers were drawing elements from both in terms of some of their interpretations of the signs of the zodiac and what they meant. So, for example, I've already talked about how the concept of the domicile rulership or the planets being associated with zodiac signs draws on seasonal components, which would make it more based on the tropical zodiac, whereas there's additional components such as the idea of the quadruplicities or modalities, which describes some qualities that astrologers associate with the zodiac signs,
which are also made up.
such as
Just made up.
cardinal, fixed,
Yeah,
and
I
mutable.
don't really follow
And the way that these are
those.
described in the ancient
I like the
astrological text by
rulerships,
astrologers like
but
Ptolemy is that it has to do with the part of the season that sign of the zodiac falls in. So, for example, Aries, the sign Aries, and the cardinal signs are associated with initiating new things because they fall towards the beginning of a new season where there's a sudden shift in the temperature and the air and the levels of heat and light and different things.
that's weird. I don't know. I've
It's
never
not
heard
true.
that.
No, this is not true.
I've never heard that before, actually.
That might be a later justification, but if you go in, okay, so this is an example. Now he's talking specifically about like the modalities, the cardinal, mutable, whatever, but some of them have nothing to do, like you can't know what, no matter which way you try to squint your brain to see the connection, there's no connection, whatever. They assigned them the way they did because they had this very rigid philosophy where like they were trying, and you know, to their credit, they were trying to understand how the universe worked, and they wanted everything to fit neatly into this like, you know, perfectly platonic system where there's like no deviation. And so you can go through and see cardinal, mutable, fixed, earth, air, fire, water, earth, air, fire, water. This wasn't based on like, oh, well, this is what was happening during the season. This is based on Greek philosophy. Okay, which is its own thing. This is a Greek system. I know I've had some people in my YouTube comments be like, why are you so mean to the Greeks? Da, 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 da. It's not really the Greeks. It's not, you know, I'm talking about like the Greek philosophers in this mindset that, you know, just restructured all of civilization. As a matter of fact, we all kind of, at least in the West, we're all still being affected by this platonic worldview where there's like 4 elements and everything is very systematic and there's 30 degrees and that's not how the world works. Like there's this fluid, intuitive nature to it, you know? So, and I get it again, you guys, this was like humanity's early attempt at physics. Okay. Like I appreciate the effort. I do, but like, no, when we look back at this, move on. Like, this is not acceptable. These things don't work. What he's talking about, this rigid system, will not work from chart to chart. If you look at 10 charts, 100 charts, 1,000 charts, you're going to find maybe there's like 70% accuracy, but some of that comes from the overlap in the actual zodiac meanings and the planetary meanings, because again, it's very fluid. But if you get rid of this system and you really just look at like, let's track the planet, let's look at the constellation, what's happening, you'll get way more accuracy than trying to stick to this construct, this philosophical symbolic construct, which doesn't have anything to do with the seasons. These are just the tropicalist justifications, the classical justifications, but they're justifications, okay? They decided what it was first and then made up their argument after the fact. You guys are on fire in the chat right now, you guys. I appreciate it.
They stripped down constellational astrology to just 12 signs to make it like, hey, guess what? It's just 12. Like, I was shocked when I was like, oh my God, there's more than just 12? Like, really? Like, what's going on? What do I not know? And that was like when Ophiuchus became popular. And like, I started looking at the real sky. You know, that's something that happens when you're an astrology student. You're like, hopefully. Oh, wow. Hopefully you're right. But you're right. These correspondences with, you know, elements and things like that. I mean, that's just, it is confusing because I've tried to apply it and I don't always get it.
Some of it works.
Some of it works. And some of it's like, oh, this was only
some of it's
real.
Just ridiculous.
Yeah. It's like, we took away the reflection, you know, our world down here was the reflection up there. You know, we had a whole world up there too, with oceans and water and animals. And we had, you know, heroes and, you know, chariots and all of this really cool stuff. You know, we took that away and now you just have this band of 12 signs and that's all you're allowed to look at with tropical.
Yeah, we stripped the spirituality out of
it. Yes. Thank you. Oh, what else does he have to say?
Things like that. or Taurus, for example, and the other fixed signs are associated with stability symbolically because they fall in the middle of the seasons when things have settled down and the season itself has become relatively stable in whatever.
I have to argue with that because I've met a lot of very unstable Taurus people in my life. Okay. Not everybody is got Taurus placements or
Yeah.
Earth sign placements have it all
Especially
together,
by the
guys.
Pleiades, eh?
Or the nature of that season is, whether it's like the middle of spring, the middle of summer, the middle of autumn, or the middle of winter. So that's the fixed signs. And then finally you have the mutable signs, which are associated with changeability, because towards the end of the seasons, you move from the fixed stability of the fixed signs, basically, and you start to transition and sort of previewing moving into the next season as you move into the next cardinal sign.
Made up.
So as a
Made up.
result of
It
that mutable
is.
sign,
It is. Like, I'm a Pisces, you guys. Like, when I get into something, I merge with it. I become one with it. It's hard for me to just drop something and let it go, you know? Like, so this whole like mutable fixed, like,
Nobody
no,
is
you
like that.
cannot use that because you're going to have your Venus and how you feel, your emotions are going to be, that could be sitting in another constellation. It colors it differently. Like,
Yeah.
that just doesn't make any logical
No,
sense.
and anybody, you're welcome to try it out. I
I
suggest.
mean, on
that you
paper,
do.
it does. I mean, if you're looking at it on paper, but then when you actually try to apply it, when you're reading charts or reading transits, it doesn't pan out. It just doesn't.
Isn't which one's Capricorn? Is that one of the
that
is
one?
that a
Oh, they
fixed?
really did Capricorn dirty.
Okay, so
that one's a cardinal. So it's more of an initiator. But
I'm trying to
it's
think of which ones are
it's
really, really off base. I have to look at my
cardinal
chart because
Earth.
I don't know
I
which
mean,
ones are associated with which
here's
anymore.
the thing. I mean, Capricorn is so emotional, you know, and they've painted Capricorn as Saturnian, so it's cold, unemotional. They're going, you know, they're just, I don't know what the hell, they're like Satan or something. you
Yeah,
know,
it's
like,
maternal, it's nurturing, it's love, it's
yeah,
devotion, selflessness, self-sacrifice, like
Ex-
energy, power. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. I mean, you can see it like directly across from Cancer. Like, I use the axes, and like, how could you have a constellation like Cancer that's so full of love and you know, devotion and those types of things, and not see it on the other side of Capricorn? Obviously,
I'm with you.
this guy has some work to do.
are associated with mutability and changeability and transition. So those considerations then are being drawn from the seasons, which match up with the tropical zodiac. And there's other concepts such as the exaltation signs, which also recently some historical evidence has shown were also derived ultimately from considerations that were more connected with the seasons rather than the stars. So on the one hand, the astrologers in the Hellenistic tradition
The seasons lined up
drawing
with the stars
concepts
back
from
then.
the
That's perfectly rational.
tropical zodiac and from the seasons, but then they're also sometimes drawing some concepts from the fixed stars. So for example, a paper was published recently that demonstrated that the degrees of exaltation were taken from specific fixed stars. And occasionally in certain texts like Vedic Valens, while he'll sometimes draw on tropical considerations, he'll also talk about sometimes certain fixed stars that are in certain signs of the zodiac.
Well, yeah, because at that
So
time
as
it
a
was
result
still
of that,
sort of
in the Hellenistic
That's right.
period, for the most
the
part,
same.
the two zodiacs were aligned. Astrologers were drawing on elements of both. And for the most part, most
They were aligned.
astrologers don't actually seem to have been aware of precession because it was a relatively new scientific concept
No, it wasn't.
that hadn't been widely
No, it wasn't.
acknowledged
No,
at
because
that
they talked
point.
about it for hundreds of years. They had a debate about it, and they're like, "Why is it moving?" They didn't know.
Yep, they all knew this was not new. They knew it in Babylon. They probably knew it in Sumer. Like, this was not a new thing. Once again, Greeks, you know, getting credit for all the stuff. They're so smart. They figured it all out. Sorry.
No, they just were able to dominate the world and make everybody do what they want.
Yeah.
How they were.
History's
But
written by the
all
victor,
of that
right?
was to change
Yes.
because going back to the 2nd century BCE, there was a famous astronomer named Hipparchus, a Greek astronomer, who discovered precession and who discovered
didn't.
that
That's so infuriating. That is so infuriating. He knows that's not true. Every single monolithic structure that we know about. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry.
No,
is
go
aligned
for it.
based
Yes.
on they track precession. They know that he knows that this isn't true. Okay. Stop.
Fundamentally, the tropical signs of the zodiac were drifting away from the sidereal zodiac signs of the zodiac, and he thought it was happening at a rate of about 1 degree every 100 years, which is not too far off from what we know today, which is that drift happens about 1 degree every 72 years. So that drift between the tropical and sidereal zodiac is what we know of as precession, which is just the rate at which the tropical zodiac of the seasons slowly moves out of alignment with the sidereal zodiac of the constellations.
No.
So
seasons are moving with precession, Chris. Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
The seasons are changing. Okay. They change with the sky. I don't know. Like, no.
I feel like there's like an elementary science class that could answer all of this. We're just like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And he missed it that day. That or he's just purposely leaving stuff out.
In ancient times, this wasn't widely known about yet. And it's only by the time of, we see possible references to it by astrologers such as Thrasyllus in the 1st century CE. But really, it seems like Ptolemy is one of the main astrologers, because he was also an astronomer in the 2nd century in Egypt, who both recognized precession because he was able to do his own observations, which confirmed the observations that Hipparchus had made a few centuries earlier in the 2nd century BCE. So basically, Ptolemy was able to confirm precession. And then by that point, he also
it's like when they say
had
that
to make a
Christopher
choice, or you
Columbus
realized that you had to make a
discovered America. Hey, buddy, like, there were for sure, like, the Vikings got to Canada.
No kidding.
But not just that. There's like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of indigenous people in the Americas. Like, but we still give Christopher Columbus, child trafficker extraordinaire, like its own holiday. Okay. Like, no, this is absurd. This is so
Nothing pissed me off more than when I got to high school and they were like, oh yeah, by the way, Christopher Columbus was a rapist and an evil man, and he did all of these horrible things, and his own country had him executed. But you guys worshipped him, and we had you drawing like little boats, and all this stuff in elementary school. And I was horrified.
Again,
horrified.
The history's written by the victors. They're going to paint these people in whatever light that they want. Not to mention, because I don't want to get our channel demonetized or banned. I mean, I don't advertise on it. If you guys see ads, that's not me. I'm not making money on those. I specifically don't run ads on here. But all these Greek philosophers had like little boys, like they had their like little boy. They'd go look at the sky, and then they'd take a little break and go hang out with little little Billy or whatever.
Yeah, they're
not a good situation.
Very questionable cultural norms. Very questionable. So absolutely.
All right, we should definitely move on.
Choice then. When you were doing astrology, in terms of whether you were going to use the sidereal zodiac or the tropical zodiac as a result of this issue and this slow moving out of alignment of the two zodiacs. So in Ptolemy's work, to make a long story short, for the purpose of astrology, Ptolemy adopted the tropical zodiac associated with the seasons because he thought that was both conceptually what most of the meanings of the zodiac signs were based on. And he also believed that to be the intention of the earlier founders of Hellenistic astrology going back to the 2nd century BCE. And that's due to the concepts of, like I explained earlier, why the domicile scheme seems to be tied in with the seasons, because the starting point is associated.
I haven't gone through Tetrabiblos in a long time. I haven't
parts of the year in the northern hemisphere,
Ptolemy's
which is the
work
beginning
is
of the
really
summer
hard to
season.
read. But I think he's speculating. I think he's putting a lot of words in his mouth, because I'm pretty sure that Ptolemy does not. Because again, during Ptolemy's time, the seasons were lined up like relatively where the vernal equinox was. I don't think there was any conversation about that. I'm going to have to, I probably won't, because I don't really care that much, to be honest with you. But like, I should probably go back and dig through. I probably will anyways, because we're going to do a workshop on Hellenistic astrology and kind of touch on some of these things too at some point. So maybe I'll dig it out. Maybe I'll torture myself and read back through Tetrabiblos. But
well, there's not a lot of
say anything
work.
of the sort.
you know, there's not a lot of work from back then that has survived. You know, we had that, you know, Library of Alexandria that had all of
True.
that beautiful, you know, information just gone up in smoke.
Yeah.
And what was saved is probably sitting in billionaire, you know, mansion
Probably.
basements, you know, or the Vatican, you know,
Yeah, right.
one of those.
Or the rationale that I explained earlier about the modalities or the quadruplicities and how those are tied into the 3 different parts of the seasons. He also had a rationale for the exaltations that was tied in with seasonal
A
components
rationale.
as well. So
Justification.
part of the important point here that people need to understand is that, like, one of the most famous and influential astrologers of all time, Claudius Ptolemy, in the 2nd century, recognized that this was
Okay, I'm going to tell you guys this. The only reason that this guy is famous is because his works are the only ones that weren't burned and
Right.
they're left over. So
Right.
this is just the only guy left that had something to say
That's a great
that we
point.
all have information on. And that bothers me because there were more than just one astronomer.
Oh, there were
whatever.
tons
There
of
were
them. There were tons of them.
Thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. So this is just the only guy that was left over that had, you know, information from history that we could pick through. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was clear on that, who we're
Right.
getting our information
A
from.
great point.
an
Yes.
issue that
like-
the zodiacs were
yes.
drifting out of alignment, and he made a deliberate choice to define the zodiac based on the tropical signs in accordance with it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys right now, that's the part that really like triggered me during this video, where he's like, he made a deliberate choice. He made this choice off of the information that he had at the time, which didn't include the fact that the earth like revolves around the sun, that the stars, the fixed stars couldn't be trusted because everything's moving, you know, and it's weird.
It's
and
not
we don't
just that.
know. Yeah.
He's making it sound like Ptolemy's like, hey, I went through the data.
Yeah.
I looked at it this way. I looked at it from this angle, and this is what I'm coming up with. And, you know, you guys all follow me. That's how he's presenting this information. It does not happen like that at all. As a
Not
matter
at
of fact, Ptolemy himself is like, well, we're not exactly sure. Like, this seems kind of to work. So maybe we'll do this for now. So he's like
Thank
completely misrepresenting how this happened.
Absolutely.
The seasons rather than the sidereal constellations, because he thought the primary motivation underlying what astrologers had been doing for centuries at that point was more closely in alignment with the tropical zodiac. And I believe he was right.
There was no tropical zodiac. Oh my God.
Can be
I know that's
there
the
was
thing.
no tropical zodiac at the time. They were all using sidereal astrology, they were all using sidereal astrology.
They were
This
all
is
using
insane
the
to
same
me.
thing. I know. I know. I know. This is why I've been getting triggered.
based on some of the
because I'm
things
like,
that I was explaining earlier. So this is really important because it means that astrologers have been aware of precession for 2,000 years now, that astrologers, at least starting with Ptolemy, if not earlier, started making a conscious choice once precession, the reality of precession became known, that astrologers, at least as early as Ptolemy, started making the choice to deliberately use the tropical zodiac.
He's
okay.
No, he's lying to you.
He's lying through his teeth right now.
This is an absolute fabrication. I didn't want you guys. I've been trying so hard to be nice, to not scream, to not pull my hair out, to not cuss or anything or attack him personally. This is an absolute lie for all the reasons that we've already stated. But if you look, I'm gonna let me try to share my screen real quick. I don't want to, because I don't want to mess up your system. Don't do it, Nikki. Don't do it.
Okay.
Basically, and I've shown this before, there's a video right now on my channel. You guys can see it. Before Ptolemy, okay, before he was even alive, it was basically this like couple 100-year period where the vernal point is right around about 0 degrees of Aries, based on which ionamsa you want to use, whose calculation, sure, fine. He wouldn't had any, even if he understood precession, okay, he would not have had any clue that it was going to like completely change the astrological system. Early Hellenistic astrologers were using sidereal astrology 100%. And there's no way that he does not know this. There's absolutely no way. He's a smart guy, okay? But he's lying and I don't know. I haven't been like checking him for like, you know, weird ticks, see if he's like getting uncomfortable saying this. There's no way he believes this. There's no way. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I wanted to ask chat. I'm like, when did we start labeling astrology tropical?
Never. Not until basically not until well, I don't want to say that. I would say Cyril Fagan definitely like branded Sidereal differently. I don't know though if like, you know, I don't know what they would have called it prior to then. It was just astrology. But the point is that at a certain, okay, so yes, during like the classical and Hellenistic period, this was like a time of enlightenment. Well, then we went through like the Dark Ages, okay, and people quit learning stuff. You know, it was a time where like medicine didn't advance. Yeah, like we kind of digressed a little bit as a Western civilization. So it's probably more likely that people, no offense, but people probably just got a little dumb. They just, instead of looking up at the sky and like figuring stuff out, they're just like, well, this is what, you know, the ephemerides say.
When you don't pass the knowledge on, or the knowledge dies with the people. I mean, we're seeing that now with these generations, you know, not teaching their kids how to do things. You know, everyone's like, oh, exactly. It only took like 2 generations to, you know, to wipe out, you know, farming and all this other knowledge that, you know, our ancestors had. So we've got modernized, and it's almost the same thing, you know. It
was probably closer to 200 to 300 AD when it really became obvious that the sun was rising in Pisces. And then people were like, oh, we'll just keep doing it this way. You know, that's it. That's what it was. Okay. So this whole rigmarole he's going through is nonsense. He's lying.
I mean, it's a possibility that, you know, the rise of Christianity had something to do with it as well. You know, there was a point in time in history where if you didn't believe exactly what the powers of the world told you to believe, they would come and annihilate your entire village, your entire like family, burn all of your possessions. I mean, they'd salt the earth. I mean,
there might actually be something to that, Nikki. Now, I don't have direct evidence of this.
I don't either, but I just really feel like that has something to do with why astrology has taken so long to realign with the actual constellations again. There could be it could be a point in time in history where it had to go underground, where we couldn't talk about these things.
It didn't. So here's the thing. Astrology was a part of that, was science. There was nothing spooky or negative about it. I don't think it was until like the Protestant Reformation that any like real negative demonic, you know, evil associations were attached to it. Every scientist used astrology, you know, every doctor. That was just very standard up until like maybe, you know, 1600, 1700, somewhere in that time period. But what's interesting is that the early church, I mean, was written by, basically, it was like a continuation of the Roman Empire. The early Gospels were all written by Greeks. Okay. Like, I don't know if this is news to you guys out there, but Jesus's disciples, his apostles, the early ones, they didn't write the Gospels, and we have evidence of this, very clear evidence. At best, they're secondhand, most likely third-hand accounts, possibly fabrications. That's not, you know, I don't want to go into that. But my point is that there was a concerted effort to control information moving forward. And if the Greeks and the Romans like had this astrological system, and as you've pointed out many times, Nikki, you can go to some of these ancient churches and they have zodiac symbols everywhere. So like if they got stuck on it, they may have played a larger role in, you know, basically the tropical zodiac becoming gospel, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, it took away your ability to guide yourself. And that was the whole like agenda of that church, was that, no, there's one God. You just look here, look at us right here. And that's all you're going to look at. And that was the way it was.
Yeah.
You know, so to me, I'm just like, well, I don't do it. Can you trust him? Can you trust him anymore? But let's see, what else does he have to say?
That this wasn't like an accidental thing, that this was like a deliberate choice that was being done of their own personal volition, based on what they thought made the most conceptual sense, based on the different motivations of the astrological text.
Yeah, wasn't it Ptolemy who like said women didn't have more teeth than men? They actually were born with less teeth.
Possibly. They had crazy ideas about stuff.
Yeah,
Crazy.
they did. They did. This is who we're listening to. Okay.
Neat. So, one of the things that Ptolemy did, and this is where the crux of the issue falls primarily, which is that
Tell us,
Ptolemy
Chris.
said he was going to use the tropical signs of the zodiac, but that he was going to continue to use.
Okay, they didn't name it tropical. I've been asking chat. I've been Googling it. Like they weren't. He wasn't like we created tropical.
He's making this entire story.
That
This
is
complete
made up.
fabrication. Yes.
Yes.
The conventional names of the zodiac signs that were in use up to that point and apply them to these tropical divisions of like 12 signs of 30 degrees each. So as a result of that, like Scorpio, for example, which was previously a constellation and then a sidereal zodiac sign, was then applied to this 30-degree division that's associated with the middle of the autumn season.
This
in
is
the
the most
tropical
convoluted
zodiac.
nonsense I've ever heard.
It doesn't even make sense. Okay. Ptolemy, 2nd century, used the adjective tropical when explaining the tropics and the tropical year, but he never called astrology tropical.
No, but none of them did. None of them did.
So linguistically, it didn't really show up until, oh my God, 16th, 17th century.
That's what I'm saying.
It's recent. Yeah, it's sort of.
No, he's making this up. This is insane. I cannot believe that he is actually publicly saying this.
Well, I mean, it's symbolic, right? I mean, his whole practice is based on intuition and symbology.
Nonsense.
So let's just like go with the flow. This is how I feel in my heart. So this is
I'd actually respect that a lot more if he was using his intuition. I think using this system and trying to be like, nope, this is, they had the better idea. No, it's a made up construct. It's just not, and you said so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Aries, for example, which is the 30 degrees after the spring equinox, would be called Aries in the tropical zodiac, sort of adopting and continuing the name from Aries, the constellation. And this is wherein there is a bit of an issue in terms of like naming conventions, because I think at this point, for example, if Ptolemy or other astrologers had like adopted completely different names or had modified the names in some way, then maybe there wouldn't be an issue of confusion in the future where the astrologers are using the names from the constellations, but they're applying them to divisions based on.
Okay, here's the problem.
Oh my God, Niki. He's like, yep, the signs of the zodiac don't have anything to do with astrology. He just said it.
I know. His argument is basically like this man, this Ptolemy guy is the man. He's the one. He was the chosen one.
Yeah.
He laid it all out there for you guys. He was the chosen astrology guy and he made the rules and we're just going to listen to everything he said.
Yeah.
Everything. And we're going to follow it to a T because if we
Even though he didn't say things.
Even though he didn't say those things whatsoever, that entire story was just made up.
Yeah, this is his appeal to authority. This guy lived, 2000 some years ago. And so we're just going to believe what he said. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, can you imagine if he would have came out and said, the earth is actually revolving around the sun? They would have cut his head off so fast and salted the earth where his little hut stood. So like, no, sorry.
He probably had a villa.
He had a villa. He probably had a really nice villa.
Yeah, he probably did.
That's probably why his wife didn't speak up about him being so dumb and not knowing how many teeth women have. She's probably like, this is a nice place. I think I'll just shut up.
The seasons, then maybe you wouldn't have some of this confusion about what's being done in modern times. But it's like that's just like a naming convention issue, and it's something that when people learn about astrology, like you get over pretty quickly, and you figure out pretty quickly.
You get over
and one
it.
of the reasons that they adopted, one of the reasons that Ptolemy adopted that, and I don't think it was fully a mistake, is because of the belief that the qualities that astrologers had been assigning to those signs of the zodiac, those 12 30-degree divisions, were based on seasonal components. So I don't think he necessarily thought that that was super misleading or mistaken to continue using those names, because the names of those divisions and what they were thought to.
So he knows what he was thinking at the time. He's explaining to you exactly what he was thinking. This is like, what do the women on the internet call this? Mansplaining.
Yeah, this is 100% this is the most mansplainiest mansplaining I've ever seen in my entire life. Not only that, but it's like, it's so ridiculous. This is so absurd. And I'm so embarrassed for you, Chris, Brennan. I wasn't going to I was going to try to not say anything mean, but there's absolutely no way you really believe this. There's no way.
There can't be a way that he believes this. It's
to represent
rhetoric.
were firmly rooted in the conceptual framework that he was going to continue at that point. So, but it comes down to a naming convention issue at that point from the 2nd century forward. All right, so Ptolemy adopts the tropical zodiac. Ptolemy writes not just, he writes a book on astronomy as well as a book on astrology, and both of these books became two of the most influential books on astronomy and astrology ever in the history
Because
of
they
either
were
of
the
those
only ones
arts or
left
sciences.
to look at, guys.
And Ptolemy's astronomical models and the construct that he created for understanding planetary movements became the dominant model for over like 1,000 years at that point, for many centuries. And as a result of the dominance of Ptolemy's astronomical models, this also made some of his astrological work more popular as well and very influential. So that's like part of the case. I mean, Ptolemy's astrological work also itself was very well done and very well put together in terms of the synthesis that he created. So it had its own internal merits in terms of why it was very popular and influential after that point. But
because he was doing real sky astrology. This man was doing actual real. So when you read about how like the fixed stars act, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, this acts more like Mars and Mercury together, and this one's more Sagittarian," because this guy was really using the real sky. The tropical astrology wasn't invented yet. He didn't label it that.
Astrology.
It was just astrology, and they were using the real constellations, the real
sky. Lined up the seasons. Chris, 2,500 years ago, the seasons lined up with the sky. They still line up with the sky, but the zodiac that they supposedly created lined up with the sky. Like he was doing sidereal, as all Hellenistic astrologers were doing sidereal astrology. This justification, this made up story that you're using to justify your continued use of the sidereal, or excuse me, the tropical zodiac it's fantasy. It's absolute fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cut down Ptolemy because his work is amazing. I use his work. I'm not saying that he started all of this, but I mean, there aren't a lot of historical records that we can decipher, that we can go through. We get people who claim they can do this sort of thing, but then tell you their version of what it is they're interpreting. And you've caught it. You've caught actual historians that are into astrology giving you the wrong information, like not even like deciphering the Sumerian language correctly. So, I mean, people make mistakes, they do. People make mistakes.
Sure. And, again, to piggyback on that, Ptolemy was doing the best he could with the information that he had. He had his information was also filtered through Greek philosophy. But at least back then they were trying stuff out. Yeah. There was no, okay, we picked the system and this is the system now, which is what he's asserting. And that's insane.
And that's not real. That's just not true. At all.
It's demonstrably false.
Yes.
Historically, you do have to understand the interrelationship between like Ptolemy's status as an astronomer and his status as an astrologer. So Ptolemy sets that new standard. One of the things he also does is he publishes tables or
I'm telling you, if this man was an astronomer and an astrologer, Ptolemy, he was doing both. So over time, this got separated and it became different. Yes. So, and that's why tropical is called tropical, because it doesn't align. To say that it aligns with seasons, it doesn't even align with the seasons either. Okay. No. It's just a made up thing. It's like,
that's right.
Let's play pretend astrology.
Or a more simple method of calculating tables of planetary positions called the handy tables. And this allowed astrologers to calculate birth charts and astrological positions more quickly and more easily and more accurately than they had been able to do up to that point. So then Ptolemy's system basically becomes wildly popular and becomes kind of like the standard. And this helps to sort of cement the Western astrological tradition on this track of using the tropical zodiac rather than the sidereal zodiac due to that combination of different factors surrounding the figure of Ptolemy. As a quick historical aside, it's worth mentioning at this point, while on the one hand, the Western astrological tradition was going in this direction of the tropical zodiac, partially due to Ptolemy and due to its own internal considerations. Around the same time, historians believe that there were some texts on Greek astrology, on Hellenistic astrology, that were translated into Sanskrit around this time, and that these texts influenced the development of the Indian astrological tradition. And is part of the reason why, if you go back in time and you compare Hellenistic astrology, like ancient Western astrology, to ancient or even contemporary Indian astrology, you'll see a lot of overlaps and a lot of similarities between those two traditions, and a
that's
lot of
true.
things that the
He's
two are
right.
doing the
That's real.
same, basically because there were some cultural interactions at that time due to trade and due to other things like that. So the Indian astrologers, to make a long story short, had an earlier tradition of astrology where the indigenous astrology of India is rooted in a system known as the nakshatras, which is a system of lunar mansions based on the moon. And it's essentially like a lunar zodiac that consists of 27 or 28 signs. And each of those 27 or 28 signs is tied in with a specific fixed star, so that it's very much rooted in a sidereal framework of
In
looking at the
astronomy.
stars and the
Yes, it's
constellations and the
In
asterisms, which are like
astronomy,
in
yeah.
clusters of
astronomy.
stars.
Yeah.
So there was that earlier tradition of using the nakshatras and tying those into fixed stars. And then the Indian astrologers had this influx of this other form of astrology that was based on the zodiac, and that was based on dividing the sky into these 12 30-degree segments. And I think that the Indian astrologers could have gone either way in terms of adopting the tropical zodiac like Ptolemy did,
No,
or
'cause they-
adopting the
no.
sidereal zodiac.
Okay, but Ptolemy never adopted the tropical zodiac. He's
No, he
making
did
it sound
not.
like he invented it. This man was not even using tropical astrology because
That's right.
was using the real sky. That is a false statement. He's making
Absolutely.
false claims right now.
And there's no reason any Indian astrologer should have ever considered as an outdated zodiac. So the nakshatra system, as he correctly points out, is tied into the actual placement of the stars. In what universe would they have any reason to use a system that didn't involve the actual sky? That's crazy.
I know. But people take this information in because he's an educator, okay? And they take this information as
believe him,
gospel,
yes.
and they
Yes.
believe him, and they say, yes, and you should read some of the comments under. They're like, yes, thank you for clarifying this. It's
Well, that's why
hearsay. It's
that's
made
why we
up.
have to do this. So some people will find it and just like, this is insane. This is so irresponsible of him, because he has to know. And the way that
he knows, yes,
he's way over explaining. You know, I think Lorna said, or Trish, thou doth protest too much. You know, like he's really going above and beyond to try to justify this, and none of his arguments make any sense.
Exactly. They don't.
No.
It's not lining up. Oh my
No.
God. What else is he going to say?
Which was used earlier in the Hellenistic tradition and in the late Babylonian or Mesopotamian tradition. I think they could have gone either way in the same way that Ptolemy did. However, there was a strong cultural reason for the zodiac to remain sidereal in India because of the prior use of the nakshatras, which were tied in.
Oh,
with
that is okay. No, because Aja Levy says, thankfully, India kept astrology/astronomy linked and alive instead of being conquered by Islam and Christianity and Western
that's
culture.
True. Yes, that is absolutely true.
That's probably the reason why they never switched over to Western astrology.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they were like, we don't like your ideas, and they suck.
Stars,
Right.
and the way that the nakshatras then can like integrate with the zodiac signs. And I think that provided an additional piece of motivation for the Indian astrologers to keep the sidereal zodiac rather than adopting a tropical zodiac,
Oh my
because then
God,
it would have
it's so
fallen out of
frustrating.
alignment more easily with the
frustrating.
nakshatras.
I know. He
So-
makes it about the nakshatras. He makes it like, oh, no, they were here's the deal. They're loyal to tradition. Tradition is the real true sky.
They're
It's
looking at
rooted
the
in
sky.
astronomy, you guys, astrology. It's not different. It's the same thing.
Not just that, but he's literally like putting words in the Indian astrologers' mouths, like, this is why they did it. Like, you don't know. I would never present. Like, I'd be like, well, I think maybe this is what happened, but he's like, yeah, they probably, they had the choice and they just didn't. Like, stop it.
Yeah, I know.
So, as a side note, that's the historical piece in terms of the Indian tradition. And then the Indian tradition to this day continues to use, for the most part, the sidereal zodiac, which is the 12 idealized signs connected with the constellations, whereas the Western tradition from the 2nd century forward, roughly the same time period, moved and used the tropical zodiac from that point
he
forward.
just said
from
it,
about
the 2nd century
BCE,
forward.
so almost like 2,000 years ago.
No, it wasn't. He knows it was 2,000 to 300 AD is when they really like settled into tropical. Yeah. He knows. He's got these dates. He knows.
Yeah. This is frustrating to watch, to be honest.
Historically, that's how things came about. And
historically,
the important point to bring up at this point, now that we've kind of established the 3 zodiacs, which is like the constellational zodiac, the sidereal zodiac, and the tropical zodiac, is astrologers then from the 2nd century forward have been using the tropical zodiac deliberately, and this includes a succession of different famous astronomers like
another appeal
Kepler,
to authority,
Galileo, Copernicus, just like a succession of different famous astronomers in Western history were also astrologers and also used the tropical zodiac as their primary reference system for doing astrological calculations.
Yep, and
so
they
what's
were all
important about
smarter
that is
than
it
you.
means
So that
that you
means
had
that
people that were
this is the way.
very highly trained and educated in the sciences of their time period, and who were aware of precession and aware of the distinction between the sidereal and the tropical zodiac, and yet they still chose to use.
Because if they didn't, if you pushed back against the authority at that time, you were going to die. Okay. If you told the church that, the earth revolved around the sun, I mean, eventually it got out and science prevailed, but you were going to die. If you didn't say anything that matched with what the authorities were telling you to say. Okay.
There was definitely it wasn't an environment where you could rock the boat on any topic. And
not at all.
If that wasn't like, if they weren't going to die on that hill, because they literally would have died on the hill.
You were going to die on that hill.
You don't just bring stuff up and try to shake the system like, hey guys, why aren't we actually using astronomy with astrology? So it sounds like these educated, scientists that you're appealing to them as a justification for using tropical. It sounds like maybe they weren't as smart as you think they were, because they should have been able to recognize that or ask questions about it. But again, I think, and now I can only speculate because I wasn't there, during the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages, Renaissance period, they were basically at that point, it was more of an esoteric system, in which case you don't necessarily need to go in and do, they were doing astrology differently. They were using it for different, they were trying to turn pea into gold, you guys. All right. So were they really doing, these aren't astrologers that we're talking about. A real astrologer should have known better, should have been looking at the sky, but I digress.
Well, and in history, we know that these are just what's left over. These are just texts and men that have been covered in history over and over. What has been left out? How many astrology/astronomers came out and said something and were murdered for it, and were killed or burned at the stake?
Yeah.
There were plenty of people, I'm sure, that have come forward and said, hey, we need to correct this issue. And it just keeps meeting a grisly end. And I don't see that happening anymore. I just don't see that happening anymore.
The tropical zodiac for their astrological calculations and for their predictions.
And they were not doing that on purpose, you guys, because it was still the real sky.
Sort of willy-nilly. And one of the things that's annoying about the Times article is they attempt to downplay the belief in astrology among some of the famous astronomers, and to just play it off as they were just doing astrology for money or doing it as a side project or something like that, which is a common cope basically that contemporary
okay, nobody said that. None of those articles he listed said that. He's making that up. Nobody in history, in those articles, wrote that these guys were just,
Yeah, I don't think so either. Yeah,
that's made up.
Scientific skeptical types, or sometimes astronomers have, to try to downplay the belief in and practice of astrology amongst famous astronomers of the past, is just to try to like pretend that they weren't that into it, or they were just doing it to make money or something like that, which isn't really true.
That have
What's
something
important to
to
understand
say.
is that these astronomers and astrologers historically over the past 2,000 years were sometimes doing astrology in a very high stakes environment, in a very intense environment, where sometimes they were doing consultations for kings and queens.
So
and
they're not going to rock the boat.
Sometimes
Exactly.
they were issuing predictions about world affairs that were very weighty. Like, you know, William Lilly, for example, was issuing predictions during the middle of like the English Civil War, or you had Guido Bonatti or Theophilus of Edessa, or different astrologers that were like advising kings on military campaigns about the best time to initiate battles or other things like that.
And not one of those,
so
the real sky.
Yep, not one of those people
in a high stakes environment
is going to tell them the truth and be like, yeah, it's not actually here. No, they're going to stick with the script and they're going to not get decapitated.
Yes.
Okay?
They're aware of the difference between the sidereal and the tropical zodiac, but they're deliberately choosing to use the tropical zodiac because they believe that that is the most effective system for what they're trying to accomplish.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the Theosophical Society and
talk about it. I got to run to the bathroom to get
yeah,
so much tea.
The rise in the occult, you know, groups and things like that. You know, around the 18th, 17th century is when these groups started rising up and becoming popular. I believe that those were around the dates, but they helped set this tropical paradigm, you know, because they had said, you know, we know that it's not aligning, but this is very much oh my God, symbolic. Like they were implying that this is all in the mind. This is all like a dream, and that, you know, we can imagine what astrology is like in our head, and then we can project those things out. It got very spiritual, very woo, very weird for a little while. And they even tried to, you know, turn astrology into something completely insane using colors, like, oh, the seventh ray of the, you know, and fourth ray. Like you don't even know what they're talking about because it's so incredibly difficult to follow and understand, because it's based off of some spiritual woo-woo stuff, not the actual sky. And I think that's why I get so frustrated, is because we do have many different variations of astrology. We have different practices. You have esoteric, you have, you know, mundane, you have Western, you have Vedic, you have like all of these different like sub, you know, categories of astrology. And you can't say that they're, you know, they're wrong, you know, like, because they're just different interpretations, different, you know, practices that developed over centuries and time. But the thing is, it's not being tested, it's not being questioned. And when you apply these, you know, concepts to true sky, to real sky, you get an incredible accuracy, like to the point where, I mean, I've done readings for people that have bawled, you know, their eyes out, and they're like, I finally feel like somebody understands me. I finally feel like somebody actually knows.
It's like a life-changing experience.
It is. It becomes life-changing for them. They're like the last reading I did, she goes, I couldn't tell, you know, I'm looking at her face the whole time, like, because she's like, I've never had an astrology reading before. And she's kind of stone-faced, you know, like I'm trying to like read her a little bit. Like, what am I getting? She's like, you nailed it. At the end, she was like, everything was just so right. Like, how did you do that? I'm like, yeah, I didn't know I was just kind of watching your face. Yeah. But that's the type of healing you get. That's the type of information you get. If you want to see actual accuracy, you're going to do what the actual ancients were doing. You're not going to just let's play pretend astrology. And that's what I feel like our friend is talking about here, is let's play pretend astrology.
That's exactly what's going on.
Their system of astrology, and in terms of making predictions that they believe to be valid based on that system. And That's really important and really crucial, and that often gets left out of this entire discussion, where this is sort of just like summarized as if astrologers made a mistake and they don't know that the tropical and sidereal zodiac is have drifted, and that it's all a big misunderstanding. But now this has been discovered recently, even though precession's been known about for 2,000 years, and now we're going to correct it by letting you know that your zodiac sign is one sign off.
Yes,
So it's
we
like
are.
when you
We are.
actually
Okay, that is another untrue statement. Okay, they did not know precession existed exactly 2,000 years ago. They knew something was up, but they hadn't quite they knew about it. Okay. Oh my God, this guy just
I
says
know.
things that are not real
It's-
or true.
Infuriating because
Bias.
he knows better. He knows better.
We're gonna finish this video out.
Yeah, we're going. We're
Yeah,
doing it. I'll be
let's
here.
do
We're
it.
doing the whole
I'm
thing.
here. I'm here for it.
study the history of astrology and you realize the long history and traditions of just like generations and generations of astrologers and astronomers that have
Field
used
to authority.
this approach over the past 2,000 years, you realize like how weird these headlines are when you every few years you see these headlines
Oh, it's
saying,
so
you know,
weird.
zodiac signs have changed.
weird. People would have
turns out astrologers
questions.
were wrong all along in a misleading attempt to try to dupe the public, basically, ironically.
Ironically.
When you look at the history, like you
Uncalled.
realize how not just how baseless that is, but how like offensive it is to the generations and generations of intelligent people who
Okay, I'm one of those intelligent women who feel incredibly offended by this the way he's presented this conversation, as if I am unable to think for myself. I'm unable to research myself. I've been studying astrology and history from a sidereal perspective for quite a while now, and I'm like blown away by the accuracy and how you can see the world playing out, the exact astrology happening in the real sky. This is just, I've got nothing positive to say going forward with this conversation with what he's saying. You're offended. I'm offended, actually.
Yeah.
I'm very offended. You would think that I'm not allowed to question or test this astrology.
Backwards too, because these people he's talking about are scientists, and if they are offended by people asking questions, then what does that say about them as scientists? Like, that's not really
This is
not
a
good.
power grab. This is like, hey, we're powerful. Tropical astrology is the only power that you should recognize astrology as. And I'm very offended by his words, actually, as if they're that none of us can read books or
No.
dig into history deeper than what we have. Okay, keep going, Chris.
we're
Jeez.
making a deliberate decision to use the tropical zodiac.
Yeah, you are.
And I think that's one of the things I wanted to convey today is just not just the length to which astrologers have been using this for 2,000 years, but the deliberateness, and that there's a long tradition of very smart people that have been doing that deliberately based on
Smarter
not
than
just
you,
the conceptual
everybody.
and philosophical motivations for that, but also because they believe that that is the most effective system for astrological interpretations and predictions.
No, and you know how
And-
we know? Because not one of those people you just mentioned ever wrote a paper on the differences between tropical and sidereal. They never brought it
Ever.
up. It was never an option for them. So don't act like they all made a conscious decision to use tropical. They had no choice. And if they really, if these scientists really were concerned about which one was more accurate, they'd have said something about it, and they never did, which means they never thought twice about it. That doesn't mean that it's accurate.
Exactly. His main point was like Ptolemy invented tropical. No, he did not. He
Right.
wasn't deliberately using tropical because it was all still aligned to the real sky at that time. I got to drill that in because damn.
Yes.
that means something. I mean, that means something to me, obviously, not just as a
You want to know what that means? That means he makes a lot of money, you
Yep.
guys. This is what this conversation is leading to. Hi, I make a lot of money off of tropical astrology. And if people start questioning that and asking, questions and not using tropical, oh my God, I might not make a lot of money.
That's
my
possible,
livelihood
yeah.
and survival might be
Not just
called
that,
into
there's
question.
ego. There's ego. Like
Very big ego. Is this not giving the Jupiter square? Like, oh my God, this is so giving. He posted this around the time Jupiter was square the sun and was also square Pluto. Yes.
Okay.
So this, and I'm telling you, it's
I
literally
believe
a
you.
power grab. So
But also as an astrologer, in terms of getting it right when you're talking about this complex issue and this history, that it's important to frame things in an accurate way historically. All right, so
that's
to bring
really
this
funny
around,
because he did
I just wanted to
not.
conclude this again by bringing it around to the baselessness of some of the skeptical attacks on tropical astrology, which is one, that there was a recent shift that has caused everyone's zodiac sign to be one sign off. No, that's not true, in the sense that if Western astrologers have been deliberately defining the tropical zodiac in the context of the seasons for 2,000 years, and if everybody in the West has grown up, let's say, resonating with their zodiac
they
signs as defined by
resonate
Western
with
astrologers,
it. Well, that makes
the
it
seasons
okay.
don't change.
Exactly.
The seasons haven't changed,
I
and
know.
therefore the tropical signs of the zodiac have not changed, because that is a fixed reference system.
Guess what, guys? Here in tropical, nothing ever changes. It always stays the same. You're
Forever.
safe, you're secure, and it's forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary.
Get a
relative to the
tattoo?
seasons. So it's misleading to say that everyone's sign is like one sign off.
It's
It
real.
is. It's
This
one sign
also
off.
brings up like adjacent things, like there's the claim about Ophiuchus, and that Ophiuchus should be the 13th sign. But the problem with that is that if Western astrologers are not basing their zodiac off the constellations, but instead they're defining it as 12 30-degree divisions that
has
fall into
nothing to do
alignment with the equinoxes.
With astrology, that's not
follow the program. He's guiding you to follow the You are being programmed right now. It's so
Dr.
insane.
Danny was absolutely right. They are not doing astrology. Whatever
They are
they
not
call
doing
it, this
astrology.
is not what he is describing is not astrology. Not even a little bit. And I don't know why it took me like an hour to 2 hours to like figure it out. But he's legitimately he's laying out a case for a different system that is not astrological in nature whatsoever. And he's doing an awesome job, you guys. He's selling it hard.
He really is.
And the solstices, then Ophiuchus doesn't really come into that in terms of changing the zodiac signs for that reason, because we're not basing it off of the constellations in the first place.
We're not doing astrology.
So while Ophiuchus could be taken into account in terms of that, Western astrologers do actually pay attention to fixed stars, or sometimes specialize in the placement of certain fixed stars and where they fall within the tropical signs of the zodiac. That's kind of like a separate thing, and it doesn't change the fundamental.
Oh my God. It's not. You guys, the fixed stars are not a separate thing. Where the galactic center is so important.
Oh, yeah.
Right across from it is so important. Where these little gates are up in the sky, like I'm telling you, they mean something. It means something. So when they're placing a fixed star, a whole zodiac sign over, it changes the meaning.
Ooh, that's crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
Definition of
Let's
using
play
12 signs of
astrology.
30 degrees each. I think I've been able then to summarize this long and kind of complex history, and I want to bring it back around to what the point is of articles like this, where, as I said in the beginning, because the ultimate conclusion of any article like this is ultimately they say astrology is baseless and you shouldn't believe in it anyways. And that's really the point of the article. And that's one of the things that comes off as a little bit.
That is not the point of the article at
No, it's
all.
not.
The point of the article was to tell you to look up at the sky.
Yes,
That
you're
tropical
absolutely
astrology
right.
does not use the real sky. That's the problem. That's why people are questioning it. That's why Chris Brennan gets all of those comments that he deletes underneath his videos, asking questions instead of answering them, with integrity and honesty. He deletes them. So yeah, here we go.
Misleading and almost like nefarious about it is, if you think about it and you boil it down, these articles are always written by somebody who doesn't believe that astrology is a legitimate phenomenon.
Okay, that's
then they're
not
telling
true.
people who do believe that astrology is a legitimate phenomenon how they should practice or think about astrology. So they're saying you should use the sidereal zodiac rather than the tropical zodiac, or
we hurt
they're
your
saying you should use the
feelings,
constellational zodiac rather than the tropical zodiac. But the problem with that is that these people ultimately don't actually believe in astrology. They don't practice it. They don't
That
think
is
it's
not
a
real.
legitimate phenomenon.
No.
And ultimately, their goal is not to necessarily help people have a better understanding of their
this
zodiac
is
sign
really
in the sense that
sick.
they actually
This
Now
care
is.
he's
for
accusing
what
these
sign
people
each
who are
person
asking
associates with their
questions.
life, but
He's like putting he's putting
Words
like,
in their mouth. He's deciding what they
absolutely.
believe in, where this article actually originated from, as if it was in the spirit of debunking astrology.
He's created a complete conspiracy around it. Like, oh my God, this is insane.
In his article, he writes that it is propaganda, that the people using constellational astrology and encouraging others to do so is propaganda.
This is probably the most offensive thing of all the stuff that he said.
This is the biggest propaganda campaign video I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, this is one of the, what is it called? Was it projection? Like when you accuse other people of doing the exact same thing you're doing, right? That's what it seems like is going on here.
rather their purpose is just to...
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
I was just going to say, like, it's never wrong to ask questions. Always just keep asking questions. And we've said this before too, like, never, ever take my word for it. Like, I challenge every single one of you to go out and actually look stuff up, try things out for yourself. Like, you should never just take somebody's word for anything.
Yeah. I mean, I've spoken about like lunar cycles. I've talked about transits. I mean, these are energies that are out there that are available. I'm not speaking the gospel, you guys. I'm not saying this is exactly right and this is what's going to happen. These are what some of you are going to experience. That's where I'm coming from. You know, this guy's coming from like a place of like, I'm the authority on this. And because I'm a man who knows things, and I have got all these other important men who know things as well. They all back me up.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it. That's
the argument.
This really important guy did it, and then this other important guy did it. Now I'm doing it too. I'm another important guy. That's the whole basis.
Yeah, it's a big chain of importance.
Yeah.
To attempt through an indirect manner to convince people that astrology is wrong. So when they say that like your zodiac sign is out of date or your zodiac sign is wrong, what they're really actually trying to say is just astrology is wrong, and they're trying to convince people of this through a roundabout.
So if you don't practice anything but tropical, you're wrong.
Yep, that's right.
Oh my God. This guy would hate me if I was his wife.
He
would absolutely hate me.
Method. And what's funny about this though is that like a lot of people don't get that that's actually fundamentally what's going on here. And
you don't know
so that's why you'll see like the secondary reporting on this. Like I watched a little clip from like the Today Show that was sort of doing secondary reporting about the New York Times article, and their entire thrust of it was your zodiac sign has changed and it's one sign off. So if you previously thought that you were a Sagittarius, now you're a Scorpio. And they went through like all 3 or 4 of the people that were sitting on the panel and explained how their sun sign was this, but now that means that it's this, so that people take the reporting at face value and that they think that the purpose of it is actually to help them figure out their correct or their true zodiac sign.
Oh my God, because it is!
The point of the reporting. The point of the reporting is just to mess with astrologers, to introduce doubt into astrology, to get people to question it and to reject it ultimately.
Hold on, like, push pause, Nikki.
Yeah.
People have been using tropical astrology for like, 2,000 some years, and it has failed them. Okay. Yes. It has been written off over the last 300 years as a tabloid joke.
Yes.
Because you guys keep giving them the wrong information.
Thank you.
Nobody's going to take it seriously. So there's not this special group of people who are like going around trying to debunk astrology. It's been debunked in the mainstream mind because they've been getting terrible info. Okay.
Exactly.
You tell them that their son's in Taurus and that they're this, or their son's in Capricorn and that they're just a workaholic. And they're going to be like, no, that's not me. You know what I mean? Like there's reasons for people that they don't believe in astrology. You don't need the news. You don't need Fox News to have a panel or whatever and be like, oh, like astrology sucks. No, they know that because they look at the Inquirer and it gives them bad info. Yeah. Okay. So like, yeah, he's creating this whole like scenario in his head where like everybody's out to debunk astrology. It's been debunked, buddy.
You're
part of the problem.
Exactly. And I don't know if you've ever met somebody who was told they were a Capricorn their entire lives just to not live a Capricornian kind of lifestyle. They're like, well, why aren't I organized and on top of my
Or like
shit?
the
And
Leo and Virgo one. Like that
yeah.
one's crazy because they're so different. My husband swore up and down he was a Virgo. I'm like, what? Where's that? And I took him at his word because I just wasn't thinking, I guess, at
You're
the
in
time.
love. Yeah, love
Yeah, I
does
was,
that.
and then I'm
You
like,
throw the
wait a
goggles
second.
on.
You are like the most stereotypical cartoonish level of a Leo that has ever walked the earth.
I
Like,
love
this is
it.
ridiculous.
I love it. I love it. All right. What else is Chris
Be
saying?
real. It's fine if it's fine and it's healthy if people question astrology and question their beliefs, whatever their beliefs are. We all need to have a healthy sense of skepticism about what we believe in and truly knowing why we believe what we believe. And I do think that's important now more than ever, especially with all of the fake news reporting and like AI things that are happening and all the other bizarre, terrible, like even like anti-science things in the world. I understand from that perspective the motivation sometimes of science writers and skeptics and other people like that who are trying to fight what seems like a never-ending battle or a losing battle, frankly, at this point against, really harmful concepts in society that are not based on science or not based on reality, I guess we should
Or
say.
astronomy.
And
Yeah.
they see astrology as one
They-
element of that or one
It
manifestation
is.
of the
Because you
larger
guys don't use
problem, and there's
astronomy.
something that they have to fight and that they have to try to convince people is not true or is not correct. So
Because he used
I understand on the
something
one
else.
hand the motivation for that and where that comes from, and that ultimately it's I think a reasonable and noble fight to try to like promote science at this point in time and this point in history, and
Oh, it's
understand that there's actually a
noble.
good reason for it and a good motivation for it. But
Who's closing
I
his
do
eyes a lot
think
just
that
now?
it is nonetheless, the way that it's done is often misleading and is not accurate. And it bothers me that in an attempt to defend the scientific worldview and to attempt, a defense of reality and basing our beliefs on things that are actually happening in nature and in reality,
In the
that
sky.
you would have to use a misleading argument in order to make that case, which leaves out major
Like the
things
one
about
he
why
just gave us.
astrologers do what they do, the deliberateness of it, and the defendable parts of that.
Hold on,
It makes
Nikki.
me
Yeah, that's
uncomfortable.
confusing. I'm really confused about what he just said.
It's not, he keeps saying like astrologers are doing this deliberately. So
No,
many
they're not. They're being
astrologers don't know. They don't know. They literally think that that's where the planet is. This is not just a problem, like an issue with the public. Like other people who love astrology or who do astrology professional, they don't know. I got lucky, you guys, because I started my astrological journey in basically around Vedic astrologers.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
I didn't get into Vedic astrology. I just wasn't feeling it for whatever reason. I mean, but it was definitely superior in the predictions that I was giving people. So I learned real quick that something is definitely off in tropical. I don't, his whole thing here, again, he's going aside from the appeals to authority. He's projecting, he's got this whole system set up in his mind where like everybody's just out to get me now. That's what I keep getting out of this is like, everybody's being mean to Chris. I got my, 250,000 subs and like, the questions just keep coming and everybody has a right. And he just even said, he's like, oh yeah, like science is important. It's good to know what's going on in nature. But like nothing that you're doing has anything to do with nature at all. And if you guys are just joining us or watching this somewhere in the middle, he definitely said right out of the gate, this is a construct. He used these words. It's a construct. It's based on symbolism. And we're just, all these smart guys did it. So we're going to do it too. And that's really what it comes down to. So, and it's I think we're like close to the end here. He has not acknowledged that there is any type of sidereal movement, that there are sidereal astrologers. And why can't we as sidereal astrologers be like, yeah, we're intentionally choosing this? What, are we just wrong? Because we're not, like doing what all the smart guys did? Like that doesn't make any sense. Oh, Nikki, I can't hear you. Nikki.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I had to
Right.
push my little button.
No worries, no worries.
Well, yeah, according to him, we're all wrong. And that way, the way he's doing it is the only way, the only right way, the only correct way. And that's that. He's the authority, says the man who does astrology, and all the other men before him that were in charge of astrology.
That's right. An
He
unbroken
He
chain
made
of-
a lot of stuff up, you guys. I really want you to know that.
Oh, we called it all out though. So
Yeah.
go back and watch it from the beginning if you didn't. I made sure to call it all out as it came. So
The underlining goal isn't to take. Here's the deal. People already have caught on. They were catching on back in the 80s. They were catching on in the 90s. They knew something was up. Okay, that something wasn't aligning. It was, and it did in and it's given astrology. Frankly, tropical is the reason why astrology isn't taken seriously, and
That's right.
It's made a joke. And when I tell people that astrology like saved me from this or that and anything else, like they laugh until I tell them that, well, I don't do tropical astrology. I actually use the real sky. I use astronomical astrology. Then they're
Right.
like, huh? What is that?
Didn't even know it was a thing. So
They
Chris, it's not a
don't even
conspiracy.
know.
People didn't know. They still don't know. But fortunately, his video, maybe people start asking questions. Who knows?
Well, he'll delete them.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to answer it. He's really grinded my gears. I'll
Comfortable
tell you
then
that
that
much.
a misleading argument has to be made in order to promote science, and there
It's
is
not
an
misleading.
underlying issue with that needs to be reconciled and dealt with and recognized, because I don't think it's being adequately recognized at this point when the same arguments are just continually trotted out like every few years.
The questions.
All right,
are
so there
trotted
is an
out.
underlying issue about within the astrological community that astrologers, a conversation that astrologers themselves can have about the different merits between the three zodiacs as reference systems of like, should you use the constellational zodiac? Should you use the sidereal zodiac? Should you use the tropical zodiac? And I think it's important for astrologers to have those internal debates because every field has debates like that of like technique and practice and like what works better, what makes more sense conceptually or
Yeah, come on the
philosophically
show,
or what
Chris. We'll have a
you.
debate.
Those are all fine debates to
won't.
have. And
He's
there's sort
too
of a separate
chicken.
discussion that we could have. Maybe I've had actually in other episodes talking about different astrologers from different traditions, like representing the tropical versus the sidereal zodiac and
I
on
doubt
what their
it.
arguments.
No, he never has. I'm telling
don't
you,
think- I don't
he
think he has
only
either.
he only does what aligns with his personal dogma, his personal agenda, and that is that. He's never had anybody challenge him. He doesn't
He-
like being challenged.
He probably had your tropical astrologers and they both had a conversation about it, but that's not the same thing as
It's
a
not the
debate
same thing.
conversation, like a real one.
What is he getting
are
to? This is
for taking one position or the
the
other.
worst projection.
To me, that's sort of like a separate
conversation I've ever
aside
seen.
where the primary point of this video is I just wanted to talk about and explain some of the issues underlying some of the arguments that have been made so that astrologers themselves are better informed and better able to respond to criticisms like this or attempts to mislead people and know how to respond to them, especially when it comes to some of the history, which I know can be very complicated and, outside of people's
It's
field
not.
of specialty to really be
not
able to talk
complicated.
about that. So
It's his specialty.
I wanted
so
to
he
respond
knows.
because this is something that I've studied and written about extensively due to my interest in going back and studying the history of astrology and understanding why astrologers do what they do and how they came to do it has been a major part of my life's work. And I think that that's been valuable because then in instances like this where we have these issues that arise, you can actually know the texts that people are talking about, know the history, and you can be able to identify when somebody's making an argument that doesn't actually make sense in
Like,
terms of the history.
yours.
and
Okay,
in
hold
some of
on,
its
hold on.
cases.
He didn't mention any text, I don't think. I don't think he mentioned a single one, not even any of Ptolemy's texts. He didn't cite any.
None.
But also, he basically just said, this is for my devotees. These are for this video's for other tropical astrologers, so you can go out and tell the siderealists to suck it. Because
yeah.
when they start asking questions, that was the whole point of this video. It wasn't for us. It wasn't for maybe for a little bit for his potential clients.
For his
or,
ego. Yeah. He's got an ego
basically
issue.
marching orders for the other tropical sidereal astrologers. Go out and tell them this. That's exactly what he just said.
Basically, yeah. Well, I mean, I think if you want to practice tropical astrology, go for it. You know, like it's your life, you know, bro, do it. If you know the difference and you still choose to practice tropical, like God bless you. You know, I'm sure you'll find clients. I'm sure you'll find people.
Oh yeah, it's a huge
that's how
market.
it works. Yeah, absolutely. But we're always here for anybody who has questions about why we practice the way we do, and we'll show you why. You know, we won't, and we'll be completely transparent, and it won't be a big projection of
also,
video.
yeah, like, yeah, if you want to practice tropical astrology, that's all fine and good, but don't lie about why it is the way it is, or don't it's not astrology. Okay. If
It's
what
not.
Chris is saying is what you believe, you are not practicing astrology.
It's like another
something
form
else.
of divination. It's another form of like witchcraft. It's not really like
basically like human design, like a really primitive version of human design.
Yeah, very. Yeah, good one. Yeah, good observation.
So I hope this has helped to clear some things up for people in terms of the three zodiacs, in terms of the history of that. If you have any questions, then please let me know and post them in the comments below this video on YouTube, especially.
So they'll get
so we can delete them.
To answer some questions and just see what people think. But other than that, I think that's it for this video. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you again next time.
Yeah.
Nikki, real quick, go and just see if you can scroll down into the comments. Just read a couple, see if they're all like, you know.
Perfectly timed with the Mars-Mercury conjunction. Cuts through the noise. Well done. Thank you, Chris.
So no pushback whatsoever. Go to
None.
recent comments. Sometimes they'll if you click recent, sometimes before they can delete them, somebody will say something.
Newest first,
yeah, try that one.
Oh, look at that. Sumerian Sidereal Astrologist reacted to your video. Can you debunk their response? Okay.
I hope so.
Wow, you did a great job clarifying the difference between the two. Fair and balanced. I do sense Libra in you.
Okay. Okay. Both systems work for me. They can work together. I've never been able to make it.
Thank you, Chris, once again for sharing your knowledge in such a clear way. I recently made the shift back to tropical after practicing sidereal. Tropical Vedic is what is working for me.
Oh my God.
Thank you for deepening my knowledge, Chris. All of these are like, thank you. You're so great. We love you so much. You know everything. Thank you. Thank you. I'm telling you, anything that got posted about challenging
it's gone.
His work, it got wiped, guys.
He's got a full-time YouTube person who just screen.
This is how he makes his money, you guys. Right. You know, when you talk about here, can I stop sharing?
We'll see how long that link that you said. The one where he's like the Sumerian whatever people, like, I bet that link gets deleted. They'll take it off. They don't want anything.
They're gonna wipe it. Well, he wiped your comment off.
Yep, mine wasn't there.
I didn't find it at all. I was looking for it last night, and I was like,
Yep.
You guys, I really held back.
You did a great job, Nikki.
Yeah, this was just really bothered me because I followed tropical astrology for a very long time, you guys. I was very devoted. I read my books. I was asking the questions, and I was not getting accuracy. Okay, that's the reason why I switched. And I get it. Everybody's different. You know, you do what feels good, you know, I guess. But I don't know, man. I mean, I like my T's, you know, crossed, my I's dotted. I need actual integrity in my practice. I can't, with a good conscience, look at somebody and tell them a tropical, you know, forecast when I know that's not real. That's not really there. Saturn is not in Aries. Neither is Neptune. We don't have any fresh, awesome new starts happening, guys. Look at the real sky.
What did Dr. Danny say that they should call it? She came up with a name.
Oh my God. It was so cool. It was like seasonal, the planet seasonal. I shared the video.
The seasonal, the seasonal one doesn't make sense either, though, because it doesn't follow the seasons. The seasons follow the sky. It follows precession. Yeah. I ran out of hot beverage, as you guys can tell.
What was it? What did she call it? The planetologist. She called him the planetologist confirms Western astrology is seasonal.
I think planetology would be better than astrology, but you're not doing astrology, whatever it is.
I don't know. It's like astromancy. You know, it's just we're gonna like cast a made up chart. We're gonna like project all of our emotions into this chart, and then this is what we're gonna do with it. It's almost like a type of witchcraft that
Sure,
it's very
but
occult and very silly. Like
astromancy implies divination, though, and maybe some intuitive insight, and even that there's no leeway for that in tropical astrology, which somebody mentioned, and you guys, sorry, I was listening and I couldn't figure out, but somebody said something earlier about a tropical astrologer like totally nailing their reading, but it was all intuitive and they couldn't like reduplicate it from chart, which I've seen that before too. Some amazing astrology readings, but the information they give you from one planet doesn't compute in the next planet, and it's because for reasons. Nikki, I gotta go make hot water.
No, that's all right. No, that is totally real. I mean, there's a huge difference between Venus being in Taurus and, you know, Venus being in Gemini, you guys. So I've got a couple of people in my life who have I thought were Venus and Taurus people. So I'm just assuming like this is your love language. This is who you know, how you feel and what you're like. But their actions and the way they were kind of not on that Tauran, you know, the Taurus spectrum. I'm like, they're funny, you know, they're making jokes, they're laughing, they're social, you know, they're talkative. I mean, it's obvious, you know, you look at the true sky and you see their Venus and Gemini, you're like, oh, well, that makes sense. So I just encourage people to, you know, do some research, do some comparison, you know, charts and, you know, do some readings for your own family, for yourself, and check it out and just test the data, test it. There's plenty of chart calculators out there. You can get your sidereal placements. Just about anywhere. You just got to Google it and it'll pull up, you know, some type of calculator
easy to
for
do.
you. Yeah.
You get a sidereal, get a tropical. Which one makes more sense? That's all you got to do. It's really not that hard. Now keep in mind, a lot of the meanings are based on that system that they came up with, that the Greeks came up with randomly. So you're still not going to get complete accuracy.
Well, and things changed too when we discovered the outer planets. It changed astrology. So even the Vedics were like, we don't know if we want to touch these guys. Like some traditional Vedic astrologers still don't use the outer planets whatsoever. It's just the 7 classical planets. You know, when those planets were discovered, it became like I'm reading about it. I'm you guys, it's really weird because the astrologers of the time were like, I really feel like this is what this planet is about. I really just feel like this is so Aquarian. I really just feel like this is so Piscean. And then all of those attributes to those outer planets were pushed on those constellations. So now instead of Pisces being like this spiritual, you know, person, this cosmic, you know, wanderer who like is untying, you know, these karmic knots and is on a spiritual journey, is now all of a sudden they're confused and you know, they don't know what they're serving and they don't know what they're like. I don't get it. I just don't get that. And then that falls on like Western astrology. That's not like all forms of astrology, because you still have astrologers that use you know, classical rulerships and things like of that nature. And I've tested the Greek rulership system and I get good results from it. So I can't quite complain about that. I've seen good things. I've been able to pull good information out, but I've also played around with rulerships. Dr. Danny was one of the astrologers who she hasn't actually held back. She's made it known like, hey, I really feel like Venus would make a better ruler for Virgo than Mercury. I mean, we all have those, you know, notions. We all get those nudges as we're like studying astrology and we're using it and studying the charts and the people. We'll actually have a blog post coming out soon by an astrologer. I forget their name, but I'll be posting it, that challenges those rulerships. and talks about it a little bit. You know, like you don't get that in tropical astrology. You just don't. I mean, they just parrot everything. It's your 12 basic. I think it's a good way to start to learn astrology. But when you actually want to like use it, get into constellational, because you're going to find that it's accurate, first of all, like super duper accurate. You can't really argue with that type of accuracy. And we, you know, we can show you through charts, you know, like this guy's favorite person to read, Chris Brennan. He's always talking about Kurt Cobain. He's like, oh, I loved his music. I love this guy. He's like that Piscean, like just ooey gooey Piscean energy. And the bro is an Aquarius, okay? Like, I'm tired of people acting like Aquarius isn't trend setting. They can't, they aren't like the most artistic and incredible
They're innovators.
people. Yeah, they are just incredible people. And instead they're just given like this, oh yeah, you're about humanity. You're just like this human element, and like you invent things and you stick up for your friends. Like, it's just like the silliness, like, as if any of those traits in Leo don't live in Aquarius. Like, I don't know. Whatever. I'm rambling now.
Listen,
it's been a long video.
When in doubt, test it out. That's all you gotta do.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't mean to make it rhyme, but that should be a catchphrase.
It should be. No.
Yeah.
And I think everybody, no matter what you decide to study, you know, your heart, your intuition is going to lead you in that direction. If your heart, your intuition leads you to tropical and that's your thing, like you're still going to be on the path to healing people, and meeting people, and probably it's going to mirror back a lot of your own stuff that you're going to have to like work on. You may be projecting a lot of your own stuff out there to your clients. That's my concern. Because if it's based off of intuition and what we're doing, then you're better off just laying some tarot cards down and reading that for your client.
Right.
If you're not going to use the real sky, please don't call it astrology, because it's not. It's just plain not. But
yes,
I'm not the authority. I'm just a girl. Just a girl who got left out of history. So yeah, hopefully.
Not true, Nikki. Yeah. You have made history.
We are making history.
We're making it right now. The ISA is currently changing the game, and you guys, I'm gonna have to jump off the call soon because my body is rejecting YouTube right now.
Yes, we've done enough. We've said enough. So we'll leave it here. We'll leave it at that. Check out the ISAA website. We do have a new blog post going up soon. We've got some events going on. We do have a workshop based on the Sumerian astrology, Sumerian zodiac. Find out where everything originated from. Show up. It's free to register too. It's going to be this Saturday, Zoom. Hop on our website and check it out. Absolutely free. Jump on. We need your comments, questions. Find out where astrology originated from. Okay, from people who don't have a weird agenda about controlling what you think. Like, we're just going to present the information and leave it out there for you to make up your own mind. I can
and do cite all of my sources.
Yes.
If I assert something, I can usually find a document that backs it up. So,
yeah. All right. I think we should wrap it up for today. And I love you guys. We'll see you later. Keep, questioning and looking up. And yeah, we'll see you next time. We'll see you next week, actually.
Bye.